What is going on, everybody out there in the internet world? Thanks for being here with us tonight. We got a great one for you coming up. We're going to talk about our 35th president, Mr. John F. Kennedy. Everything from, he's quite the guy. He went to the Bay of Pigs, got us into the space race, into trade deals with Cuba Missile Crisis, and then shot in Dallas by Lee Harvey Oswald on November 22nd, 1963. We got a bunch of fun people coming up here to talk with us about that right now. We got Sally and we got LW here. What is going on, guys? Sally, what's up?
Everything is great here. It's still kind of nice weather here in Utah. Guys, it's that time of year where I have to start harvesting my garden, which is really kind of difficult. Everything is so busy right now, and it's a bit busy news cycle. Other than that, everything is great here in Twitterville and on Rumble.
All right. Yeah, this is going out. We're going out on Rumble, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, YouTube. We're all over the place with this stream. So we're going to see a lot of different people coming in. What's up, LW? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, Fools, Sally, chat. Glad everybody could make it. Looking forward to having a little chat about JFK.
I heard you've been having a lot of fun teaching your son to drive there.
Oh, yeah, we got accosted by a Karen in the parking lot of a movie theater. But other than that, it's been going good.
Oh, geez. Yeah, those are the good days. The good days there. I'm sure, Sally, you've dealt with that too before, haven't you? Teaching youngins to drive.
Say that again. Sorry, lost sound for a second.
No, we were laughing at LW about having to teach his children to drive, or his son to drive there. And then I was like, I'm sure you've been there as well, having to do that. That's
my kids fortunately have driven like motorcycles and four-wheelers their entire life. So really it wasn't that bad. My daughter, the first time she drove after getting her license, scared the crap out of me. She turned left and scared the shit out of me. I thought we were gonna die. She just the light was red, so you couldn't turn left on the red light for the arrow, and she just I was
like, yeah, those are great times. Great times. You got a ways to go there, LW. A lot of more interesting Karen moments, I'm sure, will be coming up.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I just laughed at the lady who got out of her car and wanted to fight us, but
All right. Well, I mean, I guess we can go on and jump right in. We have joining us here as well. I'll bring up on the stage right now. We have, we'll let her introduce herself here. How are you doing tonight?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Hi, guys.
Hello.
It's Des. Look, I got my Kennedy for President shirt on.
Love it.
Yep, had to. And I have my JFK pillow. For those who don't know, I'm JFK's long lost love. We just got on different timelines. That's all.
Okay. So you're a fan of JFK then?
I'm a big fan.
Okay. Super fan. I like it. Yeah, quite the guy. Lots of affairs, lots of scandal things going on there with him, but he's obviously a ladies' man, so he did have that going for him.
Definitely a ladies' man. Not a loyal one, but he's a ladies' man.
Yeah, ladies, and that's plural. All the ladies. Well, at least the pretty ones.
They were all beautiful. Yeah, there's that. They were all beautiful girls.
He was loyal to all the ladies.
There you go.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess y'all kind of take this one away. Like I said, this isn't my wheelhouse. I'm here to help out and do whatever I can. But Sally, you want to kick this off, lead us off here, and dive right into this thing?
I am going to kick us up. But first of all, I want to remind everyone this is going to be a call-in show. So there's going to be a StreamYard link provided. And it's going to be first come, first serve. And Destiny's going to be here to answer all of your questions. She is a if you guys, I know her from X. I've been on X Spaces with her. She, hands down, is one of the best researchers that I know. Her brain is just can put all the pieces together. And she actually interviewed Oswald's lover. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? And I was like, I want to keep watching the show. It was amazing. So
she's incredible.
Yeah.
That's the second time I've interviewed her, and she's in her 80s, I believe, and she's one of the smartest people I've ever met in her 80s. Like, it's incredible.
Huh. Now, where did you do that? Was that on X or was that?
That was on X both times. The first time was only, it was such chance that it happened to me. I had just gotten on X like a year and a half ago, and I didn't know like that many people yet. And one of the very like light friends I had was interviewing her, but his space kept crashing. Like they wouldn't let him do it for some reason. And then my girlfriend Ariel, she's like, "Well, Des loves JFK. You should get her to do it. Like she wouldn't mind." And so I ended up becoming the host for an interview that I didn't even know anything about. And turns out it's about, the lover of the man who supposedly killed my love. And
Well,
I
yeah,
got to like
that's really
introduce
crazy.
myself and like interview her that time. And then since I knew her then, I just did another one with her a couple weeks ago.
Well, that's super cool. Fun fact, before we get going, you know what the first live assassination ever caught on television was?
It'd have to be JFK, wouldn't it? Or wait,
No.
ever of any or presidential?
Yeah, ever of any. But it would
Oh,
actually be Lee Harvey Oswald when they were bringing him out of the
oh
when they were
yeah.
bringing him out and Jack Ruby shot him, and that was live television, and that was the first ever live assassination ever caught on television. So, little fun fact there for everybody out there.
But wasn't JFK caught on television though? Because
No, it was a
They-
No,
recording.
that film wasn't on TV. That was
Yeah.
later
that
filmed.
wasn't. Oh, I thought that was live.
No,
No.
they didn't
No.
release. They didn't
Oh.
release that. Dick Gregory got a version of that and did it on ABC. I think like 13 years later.
Oh wow. I didn't
Yeah.
realize
All
that.
anybody got to know back then was, I think it was Walter Cronkite was the leading anchor that day for, I think it was ABC News. He's the one who broke the story, takes off his glasses and looks solemnly in the camera. I remember it's like really infamous, but that's all anyone knew was what the media told them that day.
Right.
Yeah, imagine if that's how things were now. If all you knew is what the media told you, wow, we would sure be in quite the predicament there.
Imagine if the only thing was Brian Stelter and the newspaper on your front.
Big
You would think that
potato
you
head.
had, and you would think that you had any knowledge of anything that was really going on.
Oh yeah, that would be absolutely horrible. So who wants to kind of break down the whole thing? What happened? I think one of you is probably going to be a lot better at this one than me. So,
I
just
think Destiny's going to be the best at breaking this down for us because her knowledge is. I mean, everyone thinks that Oswald assassinated JFK, but once you start hearing what Destiny has to say, you might think a little bit differently. Go ahead, Dest.
yeah,
Okay, can I start with like quick background on JFK? Because here's the thing. You would think that people really know who JFK, like his story, not like not an autobiography, just like a short bullet point who JFK was, right? He's from a political family, a Catholic family. That's important. He was one of the youngest presidents in history, 35th president. Before that, he went Senate. Before that, he was in the military. Before that, he was at Harvard, right? So pretty much, break it down pretty quick. And while he was in the military, he served during World War II. It's important to know he was lieutenant commander of a ship called the PT-109. In fact, you can get a GI JFK, which will tell you all about it on the back. I have one. I know. It's great. But JFK is a war hero. He got a Purple Heart for his acts of valor during World War II when his ship got pierced essentially with another ship called the SS Nigiri, which was Imperial Japan, and in the middle of the night out in the South Pacific Ocean. And Kennedy and his crew were completely left without any help. And he managed to not only save the men that were injured on the ship, but get them safely to an island by swimming in shark-infested waters while he was carrying a bleeding man on his back who couldn't swim because his legs were blown off. And he clenched a life vest between his teeth to carry this guy in shark-infested waters and crocodiles in the dark to an island, swimming over 2.5 kilometers in the night, dead of night, not knowing if they were ever going to reach land, gets them to land, and goes swimming again another 5 miles to try and find help, which he does in enemy territory, and gets them all saved. Now that's a president. And I love that story because most people don't know it. It blows my mind. People don't know that that's the kind of thing presidents used to do. Like that is just, I can't imagine that kind of story.
So if I remember you telling that story the first time, weren't they evading people and they went from island to island?
They went to island to island. Yeah, he had to go island to island because there was nobody in the first like 2 little islands he got to. By the third one, he found somebody who was a scout for the Alliance that he could trust. And they gave the message that he carved with his Bowie knife into a coconut husk to say, like, we're alive, this island, Kennedy, right? And they actually sent a plane and got them all out of there. So
Wow, that's I
awesome.
actually didn't know all that. That's interesting. Now we have a president that sleeps on the beach. It's kind of the same.
You know, the Bidens wish they were the Kennedys, and I think most families that are elite families in America want to be the Kennedys because, of course, you know, JFK has brothers. He had a brother he lost in that war during a top secret program operation that went on, and he died during the midst of that, unfortunately. And then of course, he has his brother Robert, who later was assassinated in 1968. And he also had sisters, and his mom and dad were a long lineage of a very strong Irish Catholic family that was heavily into politics and philanthropy, and his family is still into politics and philanthropy today. The only living sibling of Kennedy left today is his sister Carolyn Kennedy, who is often seen in a lot of those White House photos with JFK with her running around in her little cute colored dress. So she's still alive. She's the ambassador for something. I think, I don't know what it is. I forgot what it is, but she's an ambassador. She has a political position, and his nephew does too.
Well, super cool. Yeah, it's cool to know.
So that's the background. So now everyone knows. And he was, you know, a womanizer. Married Jackie Kennedy Onassis, who's Onassis was from her second marriage after JFK. They married young. They had multiple children, but they died. One of them died. Tad died, who's next to them at the Eternal Flame, where he's buried in Arlington. Fun fact: JFK is one of only 2 presidents that is not buried in their home state. I think it's him and Martin Van Buren. No, it's maybe it is Martin Van Buren. It's one of him or Garfield. One of the 2 is just not. Every other one is in their home place, but Jackie Kennedy insisted he was in a place where people could visit him, so he was taken to Arlington. And I've been there. I went there a couple of years ago, and they have a big, huge cutout of the cemetery just for him. It's quite lovely. And but the assassination. Okay, how do we get to this? So we just get over. 1960, Kennedy wins, becomes president. Then we have 61, 62. You have the Cuban Missile Crisis. You have a lot of things that go evolve around the Cold War. You have the American space race, of course, that started under Kennedy. And at the time, we were trying to understand following World War II, how do we get less nukes around the world? How do we de-arm ourselves? And how do we control all these nuclear warheads around the world? Because it was a arms race between us and Russia. China was also catching up at the time. Iran was working on things. And of course, now this new country, Israel, is deciding we're going to do that too. And so there was a whole bunch of hot topics for him as a president. Like, he came down at a time of very serious actions going on. Like, we almost had a nuclear war. He managed to avoid all that. We were still trying to oust all the communism in the world. And he had a lot on his plate, so to speak. And there's a lot of rumors for why he got killed, which was, of course, November 22nd, 1963, and Dealey Plaza, Dallas, Texas. And he was in the presidential limo with his wife beside him in the gorgeous pink Chanel suit. Love it. And with the pill cap. And you have the driver. You have was it mayor or governor of Texas? Governor. Sorry. Governor. You've got Secret Service agents on the side of the car, and a whole bunch of people, just coming to view Kennedy. And Kennedy wasn't the only person that died that day. There was another man who died named J.D. Tippit, who was a local sheriff officer who lived in Dallas, who looked a lot like JFK, oddly enough. Young man, he was married, no kids, unfortunately, so we don't have any survivors for that story. But when Kennedy was killed, everyone's seen the Zapruder film. There's been missing minutes in it, but that's all we get. We're told the narrative is JFK was killed by Lee Harvey Oswald, who was in the 5th story of the book depository building, and he shot him from behind, and that's one shot, one kill. That's the story. And magic bullet, it did backflips in midair, hit 3 people, and exited the wrong way, right? That's what they told us is true. The magic bullet theory is still the theory on Wikipedia today for how JFK was killed, which was invented by Arlen Specter, who is what you would have called today deep state. But he's always.
Are you aware of the? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good, Sally. Go.
No, I was going to say. So, you know the background of the meeting that took place with the vice president at the time at the building that was owned by who was it owned by? Do you know this? Do you know this story?
You talking about Bush?
No, there was a meeting on that same weekend, and that is why they had to change the location.
They did. Well, there was a couple times that preceding Dallas, even 2 weeks before he was supposed to be in Miami, and they were going to kill him in Miami, and he didn't go. Then he was and went to Chicago, and he was going to do, I think it was Chicago. I'm pretty sure Chicago, a week before, and he had an assassination attempt planned against him that day, and who called it off was Lee Harvey Oswald. Lee Harvey Oswald called and gave them a tip that, hey, he's going to be assassinated that day. It saved his life. That's a lot of people don't know that. It's true. Like, he called the FBI there to assure that he wouldn't be killed, because the plan was never really to kill Kennedy. Like he said, and I believe when he said, I'm a patsy, he meant it. That wasn't part of the plan. It was supposed to go quite differently, I think. And he got the blame for it, but he didn't want to kill Kennedy, or else he wouldn't have saved his life a week before. It's ridiculous. I mean, you've already been paid to do what you do. It's not going to disrupt your money if you don't kill him. You've already been paid. So, to me, it was like, okay, he obviously doesn't want to kill Kennedy. He's doing a job for something. But the meeting beforehand, there was the one with the meeting with, was it the governor? And there was a meeting at the governor's house in Dallas, Texas, between a lot of people, but primarily LBJ's mistress, and who she's testified to this before. She wasn't privy to what the conversations were behind a closed door with the other men and assassins. And that's who was there, quite a few assassins. Some of them were from the Castro assassin camp that was working in Mexico, where they had been trained to do so by the CIA. And some of them are from Florida, some of them are from Texas, some of the mob members were up from Chicago and New York area, because there was a lot of people who didn't want Kennedy alive for a lot of reasons. I could think of a million reasons, but the mob was very upset with his brother because he was cracking down on all the mafia members. They were not having it. He also was sleeping with Lucky Luciano's girlfriend.
Right.
Really offensive. Yeah. You're going to get a dead horse head in your bed, and he was not shy about that at all. He was not shy about his endeavors with many, many women. So Lucky knew about it, and everybody knew, which is disrespectful, which in the mafia is like a no-no. And so there's a lot of reasons they wanted him dead. The deep state wanted him dead because he thwarted the whole Bay of Pigs scenarios that they really wanted to go, and they wanted to further invest in putting troops in Vietnam, which Kennedy was against. And pretty much every reason you can think of. He wanted to end the Fed. That was another huge one. Executive Order 11110, right? So that would have put silver backing behind the United States currency again, and put the Treasury in the Department of Treasury instead of its own separate entity, and not have it backed by any sort of solid financial backing. So now that we have silver gone, we still have an incredible debt because of that to this day. And the Fed is a private entity. It's not a government agency, and which has screwed our country. And there's also the last reason people wanted him dead is the Israel factor, which is that he was very upset at the fact that Israel was keeping a nuclear plant and facility with stolen nuclear goods from the United States that they had stolen because they didn't want people continuing to build nukes. They were trying to stop it at that point because we saw what happened in World War II. That's really scary. And Israel kept lying. Ben Gurion kept lying to JFK about, and he's like, no, we don't have that. Don't know what you're talking about. He's like, look, we have stealth planes. We've taken pictures. We see it in the Dimona Desert. Just tell us what's there. I'm going to send somebody to come. He's like, well, he tried lying to him, telling him it was a clothing manufacturing plant at one point. And he's like, these people always lie to me. I'm sick of these people. And so he was going to do something about it. There was a lot of heated letters between him and Gurion, and nothing that was too, animosity, but it was definitely tension. And so people have alleged that that's the reason why as well. I think it could be literally every single possible answer. And I think that a lot of them all had assassins there that day to kill him. I think a lot of people were
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah. One way or the other one, he was not going to make it out of that day. I agree with you. There's,
So
Like
what
you
do you
said,
think
the,
about the
the
tunnel? Oh, sorry, LW. I
no,
thought you were done
go
talking.
ahead,
No,
Sally.
I
Go
thought you.
ahead.
No, I thought you were done talking. Continue. My
No, it's
bad.
okay. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask what you guys or what Destiny thought of the tunnel theory, because that is a theory that I like the sewer system, where the shots could have come from the sewer system versus the building. Have you heard that theory?
Yeah, there's a documentary called Everything's a Rich Man's Trick. I think that's what it's called. It's a really good documentary. It's made by a man out the UK, believe it or not. They really care about our politics. There's a theory, and based on like the trajectory, like if you were to study ballistics, obviously bullets don't do cartwheels in midair, and they don't, if you're hit with a projectile from behind, you don't go backwards with the body, right? Those are obvious facts they just continue to lie about. But from the angle and the way he fell back, which is down and to the left, and the famous quote, back and to the left, back and to the left, it would have come from a kind of a downward angle to what would be his right side, right? So he would have been, the only thing there is the sidewalk, which there's nobody at the sidewalk. There's a grassy knoll, but that's elevated. The only thing that's lower down would have to be the gutter system, and there was an open gutter there. You can see it today. They haven't paved or repaved the road at all. It's very much the same. They've kind of preserved a lot of it there. You can see this. It's one of those quite long drains. And there is people who said that they had seen a man, I think with a gun, who was covered in like dirt and stuff, as if he had crawled out of a manhole. And that was seen in a parking lot on the other side of where the grassy knoll is. I don't know if they ever got his name or anything, but I know that they found that guy and somebody had seen him and he looked very disheveled and out of place. And that's assumed to be one of the assassins that was at that meeting at the governor's house. Assumed, of course, we can't prove that, but it would make sense to me from the trajectory. I think they definitely, if you were trying to take out a person and it's that high of a status, you only really get one shot, because after that, security is going to go way up, right? Trump is alive today is a provable fact of this. Is like you will have more security because you're more of a target now. Somebody wants to kill you. So they really had one shot, in my opinion, to get this right. And so I would imagine they had multiple angles, multiple people, multiple shooters.
So you're convinced multiple shooters then?
I am very convinced of that.
Do you think
What
they were
about you, Ed?
simultaneous?
In my opinion. What?
I was gonna say, do you think they were simultaneous?
I would say they were within quick procession of each other, because there's in the video, you don't even you can't hear anything in the video anyways. It's not a audio video, right? You see it.
Right.
There is plenty of pictures from around there from that day, stills from the Zapruder film. But when you watch it, there's a little black girl who is running across the lawn of Dealey Plaza to come see President JFK as they're turning the motorcade. And you can see as the motorcade's turning right before, 3 seconds or so before the fatal shot, 4 seconds before, you see her and you can tell that she hears something and shoot past her, a bullet, I'm assuming. And she looked behind her to see where it came from. And so it was not quite right to the Dealey Plaza book depository, but between that and the next building on the other side of the street. And she looks around to see what was there. And they found a bullet mark that hit a piece of the bridge that left a piece of shrapnel that actually scrapped a passerby. So there was at least one shot there. You have a dent on the car from another bullet, which is assumed to be the little girl one that she heard buzz past her. So that's at least 2. And then you have the fatal shots, at least 3. So guaranteed there's at least 3. I would imagine somebody else would probably have missed completely. And then obviously it's more than 3. If Kennedy was shot and so was the person in front of him, they obviously had to have been shot at least another bullet, because bullets don't do backflips in midair. So there's 4 shots actually. I don't think Oswald could have got off that many with his gun that quickly, and they wouldn't have been from the different angles that they were provided there at the crime scene. So at least 4 shots, at least 2 shooters, at least.
Well, what was it, LW? What was it you were saying right before we came on about him, being eyewitness that, eating and stuff like that? What was it you were talking about?
Oh yeah, there was 3 witnesses in the book suppository that he was on the 2nd floor at around a pregnant lady, I think a manager of the building. They put him in the cafeteria on the 2nd floor drinking a Coke at 12:24, and I think he was shot at 12:29, 12:30. So that's a lot for somebody to do, from second floor to sixth floor in 5 minutes from ordering a Coke in the cafeteria,
Yeah, especially with the, that accurate of a shot in a moving vehicle running up there, putting the Coke down. I mean, what if it had been Pepsi? That might have been worse, but putting
Right.
it down, running up the stairs and, taking that shot, that's, pretty good. Pretty
Yeah.
good. So
Well, it's not an impossible shot, but from like a reverse engineering way, if you're looking at the shots and then you were trying to guess where they came from without getting like a clue first, you wouldn't have picked the book depository. That's not the place you would have picked for the shot would have came from. But it is possible to shoot him from that position, sure, but just the wounds that were sustained in Howe don't suggest that. But he was a trained, military trained and CIA trained person. Like he knew
Right.
his way around a gun. However, there's major inconsistencies with the gun. The gun that they found is not the same gun that he had ordered. It's a completely different model. And this is proven from the Time, I think it's Time magazine article where they had Oswald on the front holding his Carconi, right? And he's holding it. Well, you could tell they've actually it's been a botched photo. The whole thing was a fraud. The photos from like two actually different photos that they kind of pinned together, but you could tell there's something on the butt of the gun that was like a strap thing that his model didn't have. It doesn't even have the attachment for it. And so they kind of photoshopped, old school photoshopped the wrong gun, and the shadows in the background are confirmed. They're different angles, which the sun only has one angle. It's the sun. So it doesn't do that. But back then that was as high tech they could get with Photoshop, was kind of a really crude cut and paste. But I'm pretty sure that's been debunked, that photo, that it's an actual photo. And Lee Harvey Oswald's girlfriend also said that was not his gun that they're showing. That wasn't his at all. And he wouldn't have ordered it either. She's like, there was gun stores there. There's no reason he would have ordered it, which is really interesting of a note from her.
I like this here. If you go to AI and just type in Oswald gun from, it comes on here and says Lee Harvey Oswald used 2 guns in the assassination of. So even the AI is confused at this point. So I guess he shot 2 guns out at the same time.
Yeah, he just came out guns blazing while on each
Right.
It makes no sense.
Go ahead there, Sally. Sorry about that.
I was trying to remember the question I was going to ask. Oh, I was going to say, so Jack Ruby did talk about a little bit with so they were developing a cancer drug in the vaccines that they originally were going to use to take out Castro.
Yes. And that's actually really like a pretty scary conversation. And the 2 people who probably know the story the best, obviously, is going to be one who lived it, which is Judith Berry Baker, the girlfriend of Lee Harvey Oswald, who's still alive. And she'll actually be at the day of silence or prayer for JFK on the 22nd at Dealey Plaza. They're holding a thing there. She'll be there for those who are in Dallas. I wish I could go, but it's too long a flight and I don't truly care for Texas. Sorry, it's just too hot and too flat. I need mountains.
Your hair would be like this.
I would just wear a hat.
LW's over there rumbling right now.
Oh, no. Texas isn't for everybody. What can I say?
I'm a mountain person. I need mountains around me, and it's just too flat there. I'm just be looking at just nothing, just flatness. I can't do it. I'm from Oregon, so I really need my mountains. In here, Virginia, it's not even mountainous. They call them mountains, but they're not. So I need mountains. Yeah,
hills.
They're hills. Exactly. But okay, the cancer thing. This is like, and I didn't know this before meeting Judith Berry Baker. I don't think most people knew about this until they talked to her. You did? Okay, well, see, you're lucky. I had no idea.
But you tell it better though. So.
Oh no, I don't. But I'll try. Because now the pressure's on. So when they were planning to kill Castro during Kennedy's presidency, they came up with an idea to, instead of doing, actually, it's kind of like a form of cognitive warfare.
You know what? You should probably tell what Judy did for, like, what her background was, because why does she know about the cancer drug? Because that would make more sense to people.
Okay, well, Judith Berry Baker's a genius, so that people know. Like, she's got over 150 IQ. And she was a child genius from a very young age in high school. They gave her own laboratory after she was able to create cancers in mice faster than any scientist on Earth. And this was at like 15, 16 years old. She was incredibly intelligent. She did science fair, wins, gets a lot of attention from this. This is like a world national, what's it called? A national contest. And so they were blown away. She could rapidly create cancer in mice. That was a lethal cancer quite quickly. And they wanted, of course, to weaponize that. As the United States government sees that, they give her money in form of a lab to do her work and work with a whole bunch of other doctors that were also in the military industrial complex, scientists like Dr. Oshner, who worked at Tulane University. And they decide while she's, very young, I think she's 18, that they're going to pretty much bring her into the fold, because as much as she's showing the other doctors what she's doing, nobody can do it quite like her. So they're like, okay, we're just going to have to bring her in. She's young. They're thinking she's a young girl. She's dumb. She's not going to know too much anyways, which was a big mistake. They really underestimated how intelligent this woman is, because she remembers absolutely everything. And I don't think they were expecting that. And so she goes to New Orleans. Of course, this is where she later will meet Lee Harvey Oswald, just by sheer accident. But they end up later working together. So she was hired to be part of a very special group that back then was under the NIH, under the Special Virus Cancer Program, or it used to be called the Special Virus Leukemia Program or something. But they changed the name to SVCP shortly after. And it involved a slew of doctors of a small team. You've got Dr. Mary Sherman. There's a book called Mary's Monkeys, which was written about her time in working there and working for the government program. And you have Dr. Oshner, who was the lead doctor in Tulane University, still has a laboratory there today. Of course, I think he's passed away now. You have Denver Haslam. His grandson or nephew is still alive today on X. You can talk to him. He knows all about this. And he was also one of the authors on Dr. Mary's Monkeys. And then there was, of course, Judith Berry Baker, very young. And she bumps into Lee Harvey Oswald, I think at the post office, when she was supposed to be sending something. He was sending some sort of secret CIA messages to somebody. And she drops her newspaper and he picks it up. And the rest is history between them, essentially. But she was there to make this cancer. What they were working on was an aerosolizable cancer that they could spray essentially over Cuba to kill Castro. That's the idea. And the guerrillas, just kill the rebels and kill, everyone, because Kennedy thwarted the whole Bay of Pigs situation. Like, oh, okay, well, that's done. We need something that is not going to be as visually disruptive to the American image. Something we can do clandestine, and nobody's going to know it's us. And it's a really scary idea. They were, for all intents and purposes, they were successful in their endeavor of making this cancer. My understanding was it was to be laced with a Cuban cigar. Of course, Fidel's favorite thing. They were going to lace it in a Cuban cigar and he would inhale it. It was essentially the way that they had planned it to go out. And I believe that they did do that. And they made a cigar that was infused with this particulate for cancer, which would have been the SV40 protein, to infect Castro. Would have killed him quite quickly. That's the rumor. That's what Judith Berry Baker and somebody like Jack Kruse has mentioned before. This was the plan. Because aerosolized means blowback. So they're like, how do we put it in something then?
That could be more isolated. But what I found fascinating too was that she spoke Russian, and so when he'd bring her to meet people, they didn't know that she spoke. He knew that she spoke Russian because he said something to her. And she said something smart ass back to
comrade. Yeah, comrade.
Yeah.
She called comrade.
Yeah. And so when they would go to the meetings that she didn't realize were CIA meetings that she was involved with, where he just is like, keep quiet, keep your mouth shut, pretend like you're stupid. And but she understood everything they were saying during these meetings because she spoke fluent Russian, and so did he.
Yeah, no, they really, like I said, they underestimated greatly her intelligence and her maturity at the time. This is a young woman who was set to be, married to another man. She is incredibly intelligent. She's, in college, she's doing great things. And back then, though, this is 1963. These are not people who at the time still quite respect women for their intelligence yet. They don't take them very seriously still at this point in our American history. So these, it's not the same as today where we have women that are leading, Northrop Grumman and major corporations. This is still the days where women were expected to give their men martinis when they got home and keep the house clean and be quiet and stay out of the way. So, no one
Ah,
really
the good old days.
Oh man, he beat me to it. I was trying to hit unmute so fast.
I think those were the good old days too. I do too. I really do, because getting paid to stay home and look beautiful, that'd be nice.
Right.
Um, feminism ruined everything. But of course, that's what happens with a man-made idea. I'm
No.
convinced men made feminism. I'm convinced. Henry Kissinger in particular. But yeah, so that's really, I guess, how the thing that nobody talks about, and it's part of the conspiracy cover-up, because the government doesn't want to talk about the special virus leukemia program or the cancer program. They don't want to talk about it. It's a big deal. And like when you trace the lineage of that program, which now it's under something called the special immunization program. So they kept the specials, like the only part of it that you can really tell it's the same program. But that program was also like involved in things like the COVID-19 response, which is very scary. This is a group that started off trying to kill people. And now they're taking part in our pharmaceuticals. Now it's part of the Salk Institute and the Wistar Institute, which now have private corporations have bought the government corporation. A government agency has been purchased recently this year, actually in February.
The private government partnerships, which not decentralizes, but makes it so that there's no regulations. They don't have to account for all their money, all their spending, and it makes it easier for them to disperse. We call that laundering money to other things and other entities. Who knows what they're doing with it?
Exactly. It's really scary. I tried to tell people about it. I made a big deal about it, but nobody really cared. But I'm like, you don't understand. Like, this is literally like, if you could have a mad scientist agency, that would be the mad scientist agency. And, this should be concerning to people. And public-private partnerships is, it's unfortunate to say this, but Kennedy has a lot to do with that. A lot of it's Kennedy's fault. When you think about these agencies that are blurring the lines between their duties and corporate duties, like USAID, which is a front for the CIA, was started by Kennedy. Of course, he didn't start it with the intention of it turning into a CIA shell company, which now it is essentially. But he definitely encouraged bringing that to the forefront when he started things like this space program by bringing in industrial companies to help the government out. But in the name of the space race, in the name of fighting communism. And that has since we no longer are out to fight communism 24/7 like we used to be, that's all good and well, but you would think the corporations would leave when the agenda leaves, but they didn't leave. This has only gotten more. And it's such a problem now because they do bypass all the government regulations while getting the fast tracking the government's able to provide.
Well, so like most everything else, it's money in the government that's to blame. Now, wasn't Oswald, if I'm not mistaken, so you're talking about the CIA thing. He was working as a radio operator or something like that in Japan. Wasn't that? There was also, yes. It was
a little bit
a Sugi base or something, and he tried to supposedly defect to the Soviet Union and turn over like state secrets to them, but I guess that didn't work out. There was some kind of thing. Like I said, I'm not totally knowledgeable on this topic like you are. So, do you know anything about all that, or is that?
He had been active in a couple places. I know there's part of his history that has been classified in terms of his CIA, exactly where he was, but he was stationed in Japan. He spoke multiple languages. He was in Japan. He was in Russia. He had been in Serbia. He had traveled quite a bit. He'd been to the UK, been to Mexico, and somewhere in South America. I forget where. And so he had worked with people like David Ferrie in the CIA, who was a pilot. And I think they trained together. I think it's how long back they go. I'm not quite sure on that. But there's a lot of discrepancies because at first the CIA tried to lie. They were like, no, he wasn't with us. What are you talking about? And people are like, no, he was. And they're like, oh yeah, we messed that up. We're sorry. Yeah, he was with us. We forgot to tell you. And so they covered a lot of it up. And, so I don't know what to believe when it's been this long. I mean, we're over 6 years now, I think. So every evidence that is provided now is evidence that is provided. It's no longer what you can go get on your own. It's what has been left over by the government. So I don't think we'll ever know exactly where he was, but there's other than those places that were listed. And I don't know how long he was at any of these stations. But I know he had come back from Russia with a bride that was his wife. Was it Marina? That he had met was a young, I think like a pastor's daughter or something. She was quite a horrible person, according to Judith Berry Baker.
Very physically abusive. Like she would beat the crap out of him, and then when he would retaliate, and then Judith Baker found, is it Judith Baker?
Mm-hmm.
What's her name? Judith Baker. When
Judith
she found
Berry
out,
Baker.
Yeah. So when she found out about it, she's like, "If you touch your wife again, we're done." So that was like
she was not for that at all. She was not having it. Like she understood, especially back then. I mean, we're talking a very different type of America. This is a different zeitgeist than we currently have. Back then, it was not necessarily a crime to hit your wife. It would have been taken, very seriously, especially in the community. The community would not have been very happy about it. The church wouldn't be very happy about it, depending on your denomination. And so it was uncouth, but it wasn't necessarily something that women would have reported. Or would have been taken that seriously if they did report it. Because we're just in a different America. Women had only been able to vote for 30 years in this country at that point. So it was just a different kind of world. But, so I understand like him telling her about it doesn't seem that crazy to me, because at first you'd be like, why would he even tell her? Like modern times, like, why would you tell her? That's crazy. She's going to think you're abusive and she wouldn't want to be with you. So you wouldn't tell her. But it's like, yeah, but back then that wouldn't have been that, obscure or taboo to talk about, because it wasn't such a big crime like it is now. It's not like we're seeing a video of him pulling his wife down a hallway like it's P. Diddy and Cassie. It's a whole different kind of, domestic
different world.
Yeah,
different world. I think the rule of thumb might still have been a thing back then. So yeah,
right,
right, exactly. Could be like that.
Like to the moon, like
right?
All the shows used to joke about it back then, like it was funny, and that's horrible, but it's just the
one
way
of these days, Alice. One of these days
to the moon.
Exactly.
So Jack Ruby, didn't Judith Mary Baker, didn't she say that they had injected him with the type of cancer that she had developed, and that they put him through like so many x-rays or so much stuff, and within 30 days he had passed away? And there's no direct evidence of this, but she firmly believes that's how come he died.
She believed it. And so you have to remember, David Ferry was also like, he was a very interesting character. He wasn't just the CIA plant / pilot that had worked with Oswald. He was also an incredible scientist, and he was working on this program. So David Ferry.
Oh, so it wasn't the Jack Ruby. It was a different guy. David Ferry.
Jack Ruby was involved too. But I don't remember which one to a lesser extent, but they were all in the know of what was going on.
Yeah.
And they were working together to make this plan come around. I don't know who did what job specifically, but they were all in the know. The only people I think who didn't know is like the American public, really, probably. Like they were all knew, like Mary Sherman knew, of course, Haslam knew, Oswald knew, Ruby knew, and Ferry would have known. They all would have known. I think maybe Guy Bannister probably didn't know. I'd imagine, maybe. I don't know. I don't see why they would have included him in that information, just because he's quite the socialite, loose lips. I don't think they would have told him, but it's possible. But the cancer that killed him, because he died rather quickly. And I'm trying to think if Mary Sherman had suspected that before she died, because she was killed. She was murdered. The day before, I think it was the day that the Warren Commission was supposed to be there. I think was it New Orleans or in Dallas? I forgot where she was located. Whatever city it was one of the two. I think it was Louisiana. It was. That her house or apartment burned down. She died in it. And they say that she set the house on fire, as an accident fire or something. It's like, no, it was not. Like the day the Warren Commission is supposed to show up, she just happens to die. And she's the lead scientist in this project, other than Dr. Oshner, who is operated by the government. He's not going to tell anybody. He's not going to speak, because he's just been given this great laboratory and all this great stuff and accolades. He's not going to risk any of that. First off, they just killed the president. Why would he speak? Because he's nobody compared to JFK. So nobody spoke about it, but Ferry, when they took him, it was Ferry. I'm trying to think in my mind where the story goes after he gets killed.
Well,
Oh, I'm losing.
so he gets killed, and then so there was so JFK or Jack Ruby. I beat Oswald.
Oswald was killed, obviously, by Rubenstein on television.
Yeah.
And Rubenstein was also killed. Barry was also killed. Everybody
Yeah.
except for Guy Bannister.
There was like 26 people that were killed. Anyone that saw any evidence, the bullets, pictures. I mean, I would have to look up the exact number because I did do a 10-part series on this.
Most of the witnesses too were killed quite quickly afterwards. Car wrecks for a lot of them quite rapidly. A couple plane crashes that killed a few people.
Hillary style.
Hillary, yeah, it was like a Hillary thing. Somebody should look into, whether Alan Dulles is related to Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, this guy David Lifton wrote a good book, Best Evidence, and he kind of goes over, the how many people, witnesses on the ground, and anything to do like somewhere around 50, and how they died within 2.5 years. And he ran the numbers. It's like 1 in 100 trillion chance of their ages and how they died.
There's more survivors of Titanic. Put it that way. Yeah, that should not be a thing. That should not be reality. But it's true. There's more male survivors from the Titanic than there are people who survived the JFK assassination.
Well, the ones that needed to die of the Titanic did die, so that we're safe there.
I still can't believe that Rose girl didn't move over on that huge floating thing. There was room for two. There was room for two. I mean, that bitch.
And then you drop the goods in the ocean.
Right. Yeah. Then she goes and throws
she dropped
away
the
that
ball
thing.
the whole way through. It's amazing she didn't go down with the ship. This failure.
Oh.
I'll never let go, Jack. Instantly lets go.
Right. Exactly. She just kicks them off that. What was they floating on, like a panel or something like that? There's like enough room for like. There was, 10 Cubans could have come all the way, from across the ocean, and got here on that thing. But yeah, not enough room for Jack. So let me say this real fast. I do think here in a minute we can drop that link and let some callers come on if that's okay with you guys. We've kind of summarized everything. Do you got any like last other things you want to touch on before we do that? Like in specific, or do you want me to go on ahead and drop the link out there?
I want to show my GI JFK doll because it's my favorite thing in the world.
You should.
All right, you do that first. That would be.
I literally grabbed it right like this. By the way, they don't make them anymore. You can get them on Amazon if there's any left. But check this out.
Where did you get that?
I ordered it on Amazon, but I heard about it online. And look, it's got his whole story. That's him. Look how skinny he was. On the PT-109, that's the ship that got blown up, but there's a whole story on the back that tells you everything about it. And he comes with a coconut husk where he has his message carved in, his little Bowie knife, and a Colt pistol, his map of the Solomon Islands where the shipwreck happened, and there's like the PT-109. It looks nothing like JFK, I'll be honest, but GI JFK, super
He
cool.
looks like Ken Barbie JFK.
Yeah, it is kind of a Ken Barbie JFK.
It is super Ken, but
did you know that his coconut is what museum was it in? Someone just sent it to me in a message that the coconut is preserved.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, somebody said that back up in the chat. Yeah, earlier somebody had said that in the chat.
Yeah, someone said that to me on X.
Really cool stuff they kept from Kennedy because like this was like one of the first presidents that we had a fully established CIA at this point. Like other presidents, it was still in early formation years, but he was like when the full swing of it was going on. We still had MK Ultra programs that were still operating at the time. Like he was right there. Alan Dulles was there. Of course, CIA at the time, George H.W. Bush, who was there at the assassination. Although when asked by Congress years later, where was he when JFK was killed, he said he couldn't remember. But there's a picture of him smoking a cigarette on the front steps of Dealey Plaza, like on the book depository. There's a picture that day of him just like, and then he's like, I don't know where I was. Like, bro, you were there. What do you mean?
Oh, before we go to guests, what you should do, or maybe we could do it later in the show, but at some point we should talk about the connection to JFK and Beau Biden because their dads were Joes. I mean, that connection is really wild.
I can upload that the slides onto here, and we can go through them if you want. That I did for the connections between Bo and JFK, because there's a lot of interesting things there. Yeah, the days of birth with RFK and Biden. I can upload this one if you want. No problem. I think that will, yeah, let me.
I'm gonna go to Traveling Pulse. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to wait till maybe later in the show?
Oh, we can wait. I'll just upload them now, but you let me know when to pull them on the stage.
Yeah, go on ahead and do that. And what I'll do, I'll go on ahead and drop this link. I know, I think you dropped it in X a little while ago. So I do have, we do have a guy named Lord Sterling that has been sitting back here in the back for just a few minutes. So I'm just going ahead and bring him on and let him. I just hate to leave somebody sitting in the back room that long. It makes me feel kind of rude. Is Lord Sterling a friend of yours there, Sally?
Yeah, he's over my Rumble chat. So yeah, I dropped the link earlier today on X because I wanted to have people ready to call in. First come, first serve. So if you can sit backstage to guarantee a spot.
Right, there you go. So I'm going to go on ahead and drop this one out. You might want to wait before you click on it, but there is the link. We'll bring one person up at a time, though, because otherwise it turns into a absolute shit show. So welcome in, Lord Sterling. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me. It's my first time tuning in today. I think I learned about your show from Billdozer74 on Rumble a couple weeks ago. But I've been really enjoying the conversation and learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know. I was wondering if you guys have seen the documentary Beyond the Magic Bullet from 2004. There's a clip in it where they address the location of the seats within the Continental limo that they were cruising in Dealey Plaza on that day, where when you account for the fact that Connolly was sitting in a jump seat, it actually fixes the broken magical trajectory of the magic bullet. I was wondering if you guys wanted to check it out. I have it screen shared if you have a couple seconds.
Yeah, you should. That's really. We did a 10-part series, and that one, the Magic Bullet, was the last in that series, and they did the documentary over from the 80s. So from the late 80s all the way to 2004, it took them that long to be able to put all the pieces together. It was fascinating.
Interesting.
Sterling, this screen share, where is this coming from? This
is from YouTube. It's the full documentary, 1 hour, 26 minutes, 12 seconds. And I have it posted at 46 minutes and 2 seconds, right where they get into the trajectory section of it.
Okay, so it's just a short clip then, is that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And it doesn't show any actual real footage of head exploding or anything like that,
I don't believe so.
Okay, yeah, YouTube's a little weird about something. I guess it's on YouTube.
You just see his head fall sideways.
Right. All right, let's check it. Let's check it out. We'll see what you got here.
Cool. Yeah, it's a really interesting clip. They're breaking it all down here. Hope you guys enjoy.
I mean, the equivalent, which is easier to see in the computer animation, would be in this range right here. And you look at the jerking of the hand and the hat flipping up, the bulge of the coat. I mean, everything points to that single moment. It all begins right then. That's the only sudden erratic movement that Connolly makes with his entire torso.
Critics of the single bullet theory argue the round must have curved in mid-flight in order to hit Connolly where it did. This belief is based on the assumed positions of the president and Governor Connolly.
Here's the position that most critics have believed is the position that they were occupied at the time of the single bullet, with Connolly directly in front of Kennedy. But that's not true. Actually, Connolly's seated about 6 inches inboard and turned to his right. So it's not this, it's this. So you can see that any trajectory coming across the car this way is going to hit Connolly precisely where he was hit. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that we look at it from the side here. A lot of people believe that they're seated at the same height here, but that's not true either, because Connolly is actually seated on a jump seat, which is positioned about 3 inches lower than Kennedy. So again, not here, here. Now you can take a trajectory line and you can see if we drag a trajectory line from the 6th floor window and drag it down to Connolly's in-shoot wound where he was hit on the back, that line passes right through Kennedy, exactly at the points he was wounded. But the key thing is to see that the line is straight, no matter how you view it. It's not a zigzagging bullet doing impossible things that we know could not have happened.
So I'm not saying that this was the fatal shot, but I do think that this makes sense and that it was one of the shots. I do have a different conclusion about where the fatal shot came from. If you guys have seen it before, the Mary Mormon photograph.
Do you like that? You like the same theory I like, the one that with the storm drain theory?
This one is the badge man, where if you look really closely at the photo taken by Mary Mormon, 1/10 of a second before the fatal shot actually hit JFK. You can see him slumped over here. When you zoom in on this one area in the photograph, and you actually end up with this little area in black and white that covers this spot. There's a dude here, and when you colorize it for just to ease the your ability to imagine here, it looks like you can see his hairline, a police
This is Barney Fife. Is this Barney Fife?
Yeah, exactly. A badge, his hand in the position, his arm where you would be holding up the front underneath the barrel of the gun, and then the muzzle flash of the alleged shot 1/10 of a second before the moment of impact. And there are additional people over there as well. One guy that looks like he's wearing a construction outfit to the back and to the right. Another guy over here in a different thing. But this may be the fatal headshot captured on camera by Mary Mormon.
I still like the I don't know if you've seen the part of this same series. So it was a 10-part series, and I don't know if you ever saw the angle from the storm drain that matches the trajectory that actually went and hit him when he goes back and falls into his wife's head. Like,
Sounds
to me,
familiar.
so that theory, just based off of, because they did the same thing, the line of sight trajectory of how that could have been. So those two, I've seen both that theory and I've seen the other one. And I tend to go with the storm drain theory only because of the way that he fell backwards the other direction.
Nice. Was that the 10-part documentary, The Men Who Killed Kennedy? Is that what you're talking about?
I think so,
It's
so,
on
but that
the one that's called Everything's a Rich Man's Trick. It's in that one too.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've actually seen that one all the way through, but I do remember hearing about the storm drain and concluding that it was a viable option. There are various places where they seem to have been
so when they
fired.
did this 10-part series, they interviewed witnesses, like the ones that were still living. They were able to get some of these witnesses. So it was over, I think it was over a 15 years it took them to complete all of them. But they put in all the different theories and all the different scenarios of how this could have happened. It was pretty fascinating.
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense. I recommend watching the rest of that documentary I showed a minute of earlier, The Magic Bullet. They recreate the shot from the book depository with ballistics gelatin dummies with skeletons inside of them, and show that the shot at the right trajectory could have gone through JFK's neck, through the back, through the wrist, and into the thigh of Connally. And then recently, you guys may remember a whistleblower, somebody who was there on the day. One of the guys on scene discovered the bullet that was unharmed in the back of the vehicle. And they actually take one of these same rounds with the same gun, same batch of ammunition, and put it, they take like a big 10-foot long log and they shoot it right into the log, recover it. The bullet is undamaged, unbelievably. But I think that magic bullet shot is accurate, that it came through, bounced off, went through all the body parts of the various 11 wounds I think that it caused. And then bullets do crazy stuff. I think it ricocheted somehow and got lodged in the back seat eventually afterwards.
Right.
But it's just who knows? Interesting stuff to discuss. What do you think, Desi?
I strongly believe that there was a lot of hocus pocus played with the bullets there, because there was one that they discovered. The one that I find the most troubling is the one that they found on the stretcher when they had moved JFK into the hospital bed that was just sitting there.
That's the one that the guy found in the back seat and then placed it on the stretcher. So I think that bounced from the front after going through JFK's neck, through Connally's back. It's really interesting in this documentary. They show how the entry wound on Connally's back was sideways, and they show that in their recreation, the same thing happened with the bullet, where it goes through JFK's neck and the ballistics gelatin dummy. It bounces off a little bit of bone and spins as it's exiting and enters sideways through the second dummy, which would be Connally's back, in basically exactly the same way that the magic bullet theory postulates. But
did you ever see the live footage? Like, there was footage that they tried to bear, because this documentary was originally on PBS, and they took it down and they buried it. But there was live footage of him actually getting shot and falling sideways. Like you could see where he was hit and how his head went.
Woof. Yeah. To the back, left into the back, right?
Well, yeah, you just went like this. So it had to have come, the kill shot had to have come from the front. It couldn't have come from the back. The way that his
the
head
grassy
100%.
knoll is at the right trajectory, in my opinion, as well as potentially the storm drain. But just to FYI, if you guys do watch this movie, the documentary Beyond the Magic Bullet 2004, they come to the wrong conclusion. They prove the magic bullet shot is physically possible without the crazy trajectory. And then they're like, see, it must have been a lone gunman. But that doesn't account for the second shot at all. So they use bad logic, a leap of logic to say that this was a proof of the lone gunman, and it just makes no logical sense, hilariously.
I would look into who funded that movie. I would look into that because I think that would probably result in something quite interesting. Somebody
for sure.
Because the interest in proving the magic bullet theory, which is without a doubt the most blaring, inconsistency in the story, to have the government have something to calm that down would be very, very, advantageous for them. So I would not. Right. I would.
It looks like a nicely crafted disinformation tactic of poisoning the well, where they mix truth with fiction to discredit the truth. So the trajectory, when you account for the jump seat, is accurate and works, but then they come to the wrong conclusion with the poisoning the well thing. I think the magic bullet thing was just a distraction the whole time to keep people focused on that instead of the fatal headshot from the front and the right. So if we can look at the evidence, see that the magic bullet is physically possible, then we could just get past it and move on to the headshot and figure out where it really came from. The documentary, The Men Who Killed Kennedy, is like a 6-part series that came out in the 80s. They concluded that it was a French hitman by the name of Lucien Sarty, who was later found dead in Mexico City. And dead men tell no tales.
That's true. Very true.
Yeah, and there was an army guy, I can't remember his name, Gordon something, but he was on the grassy knoll at the moment of the shot from behind the fence, the badge man shot. He heard a bullet whiz past his head, and he had just been doing live fire drills with the army, so he had a recent experience of gunshots whizzing past his head. And then the next day, he got shipped off to training in Alaska, I think it was, and was coincidentally unable to testify at the Warren Commission, conveniently. You know, so they were stuck with the lone gunman theory with that, too. A really interesting Mary Mormon photo, the Gordon something, army guy, the Beyond the Magic Bullet documentary. Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. I've got a jet, but it's been a really fun conversation, and I learned a lot of good stuff from all of you. So
thanks for coming.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure meeting you. You're full of knowledge.
Likewise.
Yeah, good to meet you, Lord Sterling.
You guys are always welcome. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. And you're always welcome to hop on my show as well. Common Censored, weekdays, Monday through Friday.
Drop your link in Rumble. Drop your link in Rumble, and I'll share it with other people.
Sounds good. You guys are
drop it out there, and we'll check it out.
All right, sounds good. I'll catch you guys later. Thanks again for having me, and wishing you all the best.
All right, thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you.
There you go. That was a cool call.
Yeah, I want to look into that. The Who Made That movie.
Wait,
so convenient.
Yeah, so that was part of the 10-part series that I watched that we covered. Well, we covered it on Rumble because we couldn't cover that on YouTube. I'll have to find the original for you. I think it's my friend sent it to me, and I think I downloaded it just in case it got taken off a BitChute.
Yeah, YouTube, I've given up on it completely. I mean, I watch it all the time, but I won't. I got a strike back in 2020 for putting up something they didn't like about vaccines, and so I was like, I'm not gonna bother with it anymore. I went to BitChute instead.
Yeah, YouTube can be a bit you got to walk on eggshells every now and then. It's not quite as bad as it was in 2020.
Someone in my chat says YouTube is asshole.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, they loosened up a little bit since then, but
no,
not a lot.
I got my first strike recently.
Did you really?
Yeah. And I won't say. I was talking about. I was just describing what the bird flu was, and I got a strike for it when clear back in September, and I had to go through my whole training. So I learned a lot of words that you can't say. So
that training course, yeah, I've had to take that one. It was quite interesting.
Yeah.
It's like
Like
answer
a content
opposite of
creator one?
everything. Yeah, well, it
Yeah.
basically it's an indoctrination, like letting you. It's like they're talking to a 2-year-old. So basically, everything that you want to answer the opposite, and you pass.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. I had
That's
that's
so
it. That's really
Orwellian.
just right. Oh, it is.
So yeah, I don't like that. I don't like being told what to do. I've never been a big fan of that.
Because that's why I'm really curious that they Bill Gates, you said last night, was been indicted, and I've been dying to hear more about it. I haven't had time today.
Oh, that he's got a trial. Yeah, he's got a trial date. It's in the Netherlands though.
Oh,
But if
it's not. He
they
wasn't indicted.
broadcast it, I want to watch it.
Oh, we should get VPN and figure out how we can stream it live.
Oh, I have a VPN that's Netherlands. Yeah.
Me and you, we're gonna do it. We'll stream it live to Rumble and to X Live. We're
We
doing
need to
it.
find someone in the Netherlands who could tell us like where to find the video.
Oh no, I have contacts for people in the Netherlands.
Oh,
I have
cool.
someone that messaged me back doors, back
cool.
channels.
Yeah, because that's a day to pop some popcorn, everybody, and just relish in it, because we're never gonna see it again. I don't think, like him having to account for something. Like, it's once in a
do you
lifetime
think
event.
he'll actually show up? I mean,
He has to.
does he?
Well,
I mean, they can force that.
I think he has to. Unless there's some sort of serious circumstance. I'm sure his lawyer is going to figure out something to try and get him out. But
Lord
they're pretty
Stream said
adamant.
he and Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla and others are not indicted. They're being sued.
Mhm.
Right. They're being sued by
So-
some families, I
They
believe.
could settle out then, I guess.
Yeah.
Technically.
I
if
thought I
they're
was
being
hoping it was in the
sued.
US.
No, Netherlands. But that's good though. It sets a precedence on a global scale, which is useful. India has done similar problems where they've had to try and sue Bill Gates or kick him out the country, and it sets a tone though in the other countries for collaborating with him. So I think it's a good thing, no matter what comes of it, just to say that people are willing to push back on him despite his funding, which is quite significant. That they're willing to push back on that regardless of the money, I think says a lot on a global stage.
I think so as well. Did you say we had 2 people backstage, Traveling Fools?
No, we did a minute ago, but somebody dropped out. So anybody is welcome to come on if you want. That link is up there. If you would like to call in or anything like that, you're more than welcome to. I do see Desi, you put something back here in the
Yes.
back. If you want to, you want me to bring that up right now and see what that is?
Yeah, you can do that. I don't know if you control the slides on it. I'm sure you do.
Yep, I
so-
certainly do. You just tell me when to click and I'll click.
Okay, well, this was something I came up with. I've been looking into Beau Biden just for like reference of what I've been doing here, just because I found a lot of things out about Beau Biden that like it still blows my mind. I didn't know. He was an attorney general for Delaware, the 44th one, and in his young, short-lived tenure, because he died in 2015 from a glioblastoma, which is a rare form of aggressive brain cancer. Before that, he was attorney general. He was set to become the senator of Delaware after his father became VP, but he turned it down because he had pursued a case against which he won against the nation's most prolific child rapist. He put him away for 14 consecutive life sentences plus 165 years in prison. So he really threw the book at the guy, and it was a great thing what he was doing. He has the Beau Biden Foundation. It was made after his tenure, but based on a policy he started, which still exists, about child predators. He made all the policies and laws in Delaware much tighter on it. And so I started looking into him, and then I noticed there are these really interesting, similarities between him and JFK. So that's what this little presentation slide deck is about. Obviously, you see JFK, Jackie, and John Jr. and Carolyn. And in the other photo, you've got Joe Biden along with Beau, whose name isn't Beau. It's also Joseph Robinette Biden, like his father. He's the third. And Joe Biden is Joseph Robinette the second. And then there's to his left side is Hunter, whose name is also not Hunter. Hunter was his mother's maiden name. And that's why he goes by Hunter. But his real name is actually Robert. Robert Biden, Robert Hunter Biden. And then you've got the sister who was from the second marriage, Ashley Blazer Biden, in that photo. And you can go ahead next one. I think you could skip a couple, but let me see and we'll get through it. Oh, there we go. Okay. So here's the cool similarities I found. JFK became senator of Massachusetts at 35 years old and became the 35th president. Beau Biden died at the age of 46, so did JFK, but his father later became the 46th president. Both are presidential families, both Catholics. Both were only married once, both JFK and Beau, and both to brunettes that had French origined maiden names. Onassis, her maiden last name was Bouvier, and Holly's maiden name was Olivier. Both Beau and JFK were called by 4-letter nicknames that had nothing to do with their name. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was called Jack, and Joseph Robinette Biden III is called Beau. Both of them died leaving behind one living son and one living daughter. For JFK, that's Junior and Carolyn, and for Beau, that's Natalie and Robert II, which he named after his brother. Next slide. Both were admitted to Texas hospitals before their death. JFK actually did die at the one he went to, which was Parkland Memorial in Dallas. Beau, before he went to the Walter Reed, was at MD Anderson in Houston. They both died from obviously traumatic brain issues, JFK being shot in the head. Beau had a glioblastoma. Beau's funeral was at St. Anthony's, which is a Catholic church on the East Coast, and JFK had his funeral at St. Matthew's, also another one on the East Coast. I think it was Boston. Both were born and buried in the northeast of the United States. They're both associated with moonshot programs, which is like really random. There's like no other presidents really associated with this other than Joe Biden now. And for this reason, because JFK initiated the Apollo moonshot program with NASA, of course. And then when Beau Biden died, the 21st Century Cures Act was renamed the Beau Biden Cancer Moonshot Initiative by actually Senator McConnell. And so they both have these really weird things. And they both died the same age, like I said earlier. So the next slide. Thank you. Both of them, they served in militaries, both of them before they had their political runs, both overseas during times of war. Beau Biden served, of course, in Kosovo and the Middle East, while JFK served in the South Pacific during World War II. Both of them were also injured during their time in the military. JFK kept it pretty quiet, but he had a back injury that when you see him go like back into the left and he does like so straight, that's because he's wearing essentially a male corset to help his spine stay straight. It's just like there's a word for it. I can't think of what it is, but so he was injured always. That back injury was like long lasting for him. And Beau, according to Joe Biden, he believes that the reason he got a glioblastoma and another disease that has really impossible for me to pronounce, that it was gotten from the burning oil fields of Kosovo and stuff. Unproven, but both were definitely injured in their time of war. Both of their wives moved on rather quickly after they died, and both of the wives went on to marry men of prominent stature. Hallie married a Johns Hopkins man, and literally his name's Johns Hopkins. And the Jackie Onassis married Aristotle, I think it was his name, Aristotle Onassis, who was a Greek shipping magnate. Then you have, when they died, Carolyn and JFK Jr. was 3 years old, and the junior for Joe Biden, which was Beau, was also 3 years old. And the day after Beau's first birthday is Hunter Biden's day of birth. And the day that Beau died, which was May 29th, 2015, would have been 30th, would have been one day after what would have been JFK's 89th birthday. JFK being born May 29th, 1917, and Beau dying on May 29th, 2015. Yeah. Oh, this is a cool random thing. This is very bizarre. I thought this was bizarre. There's only 2 very famous swearing in photos of prominent politicians in this country that is marked by grief and sadness. The first is the most famous, of course. This is 90 minutes following JFK's assassination, with the traumatized Jackie Onassis to the left-hand side of then becoming President LBJ, swearing in on Air Force One with her dead husband's body still warm as in the back of the plane. You go to the next slide.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, horrible. But it gets crazier because, not too long later, 10 years later, in 73, you have Joe Biden, who had just turned 30 about a month before this. He's the second youngest ever senator to be sworn in. He was he's born November 20th. So this is in January, he's swearing in. So it's been a month and a half, 2 months maybe. He's the end of November. So, and this is like the first week of January. So it's about a month and a half. into being the age of 30. And in the photo, you can see he's not being sworn in a political space. And that's one of the things that's very similar in the photos. They're both in these very bizarre places. And what makes this a sad one as well is that the hospital his wife's dead body was brought to from the car wreck that had happened just a couple weeks before this, where you can see in the photo to his left side is also the living, grieving person in that situation, who is Beau Biden. And Beau Biden's got his leg into a cast. You can't see it because it's off camera in that picture. But he's laying on a hospital bed. And Hunter's there as well with a traumatic brain injury, which he sustained. And he's swearing in. They had officials come and do it there because he wouldn't leave his son's side, but he did win the president or senatorship. So the interesting thing is both Beau and Jackie, who are in the photos, both on the left side of the politicians swearing in the places that are holding the dead bodies of the loved ones. And not only that, they both witnessed the death of their loved one in a car. It's very bizarre. Very bizarre. You can go to the next slide. And then there's RFK. Isn't it crazy? I thought it was crazy. I don't know why. I thought it was crazy. So RFK falls in line with this too, because like when you think of the Kennedys, they're the brothers, and then you got Beau and Hunter, you've got RFK and JFK. So there's a lot of similarities in the family structure. Everyone wants to be the Kennedys. But Joe Biden, the third, Beau, was 44th president or 44th person to serve U.S. Attorney General. RFK was also an Attorney General, but he was the 55th person to serve as a U.S. Senator from New York. He didn't serve from his state because he already had his cousin Ted that was running there at the time. So he went to New York. So they were both a double digit, similar positions. So you got 44th and 55th. RFK Jr. is born November 20th, 1925. And on the same day, 17 years later, our president, Joe Biden, was born November 20th, 1942. John F. Kennedy died on June 6th, 1968, at the age of 42. And interestingly enough, because Joe Biden was born the year of 1942. RFK Jr., though, was the 64th U.S. Attorney General in 1964. And Joseph Robinette Biden's funeral was held the same day that RFK died, or was it died or born? Died, which was June 6th. Well, that's the exact same day that they decided to bury Joe Biden, June 6th. He died on the 30th, and they waited till the next week to do it, like 5-6 days later. So same day, just of all the days. Very bizarre.
But these. So if you're to conspiracy theories, they're big time into numbers. Numbers are like a big thing, like 17 is a big number. Like numbers are a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Double digit numbers are important. It's really interesting to see the different numbers of like 40 and 50 and 5 in here, because you've got Biden born in 42. You've got Kennedy died at 42 years old. You've got both JFK and Beau died at 46. And then you've got the 44th Attorney General, the 55th Senator, and you've got the 45th President as the father and the 35th President as a brother. So it's like really like the same 5s, 4s, 2s. It's very interesting. And the family structure being so similar. And then you've got both Kennedy and Biden families are marked by the prominent men in their family that are all named either Robert, John, or Joseph in both families, which is cool. Oh, and, yeah, the Ted Kennedy thing. So he was the one that was the senator at the time, why the brother had to go to New York. But when you see he died at 77 years old from a glioblastoma, the same very rare form of cancer that Beau Biden later died from. And what's crazy is it only affects 133,000 people on average around the globe every year. And both of those families lost prominent politicians to just that, which is very strange. And that was in February on the 22nd, another double digit number, which is very interesting. And it just so happens that Beau was also born in that month. It's almost the same numbers as 1932. Well, Beau's birthday is February 3rd. So it'd be 2-3. I think he was born in 69, however. Yeah, so it's just very interesting. And then when Joe Biden became president, he was 77, which is the age Ted Kennedy was when he died. Very weird. Very, very weird. I think that's it. I think that's the end of that one. I don't know. It could be another slide, but I think that's it.
Yeah, that's the last one there.
All right. But then that weird, I don't know why I fell into that like really deep. It's like, that's cool.
There's a lot.
That was super interesting. Yeah.
Thanks.
Sorry, I had everything all hitting the wrong buttons there. All right, bringing me back up. Some kind of clanking. No, that was super interesting there. And like you were saying with the people, like with the conspiracy theories and stuff like that, with all the numbers and the thing, that's the type of thing people always like to look into. A lot of A lot of cool stuff there. So, yeah. What I mean, what else? What else you got? Anything else cool? What was it like interviewing that? Did you say it was?
Judith Berry Baker.
So, okay. So it was. Was it Jack Ruby's? Is that
No,
who it was? Or Lee Hart? So it was Oswald's girlfriend or wife?
Girlfriend. He had a wife. He was cheating on her with with this young, beautiful genius. Because that was something I liked that she talked about, and you can feel a lot of longing and love when she speaks about Lee Harvey Oswald. And she calls him Lee. She doesn't like the Harvey. He never liked Harvey, and he apparently didn't like his last name either. So he liked being called Lee. So she calls him Lee. You feel a lot of love. It definitely seems like something that knocked her completely head over heels. And it's endearing. It's a beautiful story in the midst of such a tragic one. She's, like I said, incredibly smart. And interviewing her, it's hard to keep up. Like, she's wildly intelligent, and she's also very certain of herself. So she's not willing to hear some crazy conspiracy. She's not, because she knows she's already lived it. And at this point, I think she's kind of grown a little frustrated that people don't know this true story. And I can imagine that would be frustrating because
she wrote a book though, right? She wrote a book.
Yeah. She wrote 2 books, I think.
Yeah.
Me and Lee, and there's another book. There's 2 of them now. They're on Amazon. But Me and Lee, I think, is the more popular one that people have read because it's been out a while. It was for the longest time blacklisted, and they weren't selling it on Amazon or anywhere. They did not want her to get that story out for a long time, but I think they've managed to start selling it again now that she's got an X account, thanks to Elon helping her get her account back. She's got visibility in the last couple of years.
From that interview that I saw you do, what I thought was the most fascinating is, well, she was saying the reason why that she was so attracted to Lee is because he had a high IQ and she had a high IQ, and it's better. You're more compatible. If you're high IQ, you're more compatible with someone that's within, was it 2 degrees or 10 degrees? Like 2 degrees
within 2 standard deviations.
Yeah. But she could remember everything. So when they took her, at one point they took her lab away. They took all of her stuff, but she could remember everything was in her head. She didn't need her notes. So they think if they confiscated all of her notes, then she couldn't reduplicate everything, but everything was in her head. And the reason why she was able to do things so good is because she didn't follow all of their normal protocols, all of their
she did what she wanted.
Yes.
Yeah. She did what she wanted. And that's really it speaks really loudly, in my personal opinion, to what people perceive in terms of the world around them. Because we see a lot of people now, like the intelligence in our country has actually gone down. For a while there, it went up a little bit. IQ wise, nationwide, most people think the national average is 100. It's not.
No, what is it? I think it's 98
or 99.
Yeah. So right at 98, which is really sad. I mean, that's
unless
really
you're from
sad.
Connecticut or Maine, then your average is over 100. Actually, the lowest average state in the country is New Mexico at 95.7. And that's the absolute lowest in the country on average. Of course, it's not like everyone from New Mexico is dumb. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
I thought Haiti was the lowest. Is that just
outside of the country? I don't know.
You meant inside the country. Okay.
Yeah, in the country. I don't know about outside. Okay. Outside of the country.
Outside of the country.
Israel and Japan.
Yeah, is the highest. I think it's Japan is the highest one, and in Israel, I think, and the lowest. We might get in trouble if we say that word on YouTube. So
yeah, I mean, IQ is an interesting thing because it gets people offended, and I can understand why. When you look at the reasons why Judith Berry Baker was so very attracted to Lee, I completely understand that, and it's something that my mom told me like all the time growing up. I never understood. I totally get it now. She just told me, like, I remember with my first boyfriend, she's like, it's not going to last. She was very crude, cut to the chase kind of woman sometimes. And she's like, she met him. She was very pleasant. She's like, oh, nice to meet you. Shook hands, like, lovely, get to know him a little bit. The second he leaves, she's like, it's not going to work out. I was like, what? she's like, he can't stimulate you mentally, and you need someone that can stimulate you. And this is me at like 15 years old. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. What do you mean stimulate me mentally? This is the dumbest thing. But she was right. Like, I totally get what she means, because the disparity between IQ levels with people is it's like the internal difference between like trying to have an interracial marriage in the 1940s. Like it's just impossible at the time. Like, it's just hard to deal with because back then you would have got a lot of flack for an interracial marriage, and you would have a hard time dealing with somebody who, to put it into perspective, I think was it 70 something is like considered mentally retarded, right? That's only, 20 points off of, the low end of New Mexico's average, right? That's really not that far. But 20 points is a huge difference between the mentality, capabilities, and potential of each person. So if you even have 100 IQ, which is considered above average, right? And you were dating somebody with a 120 IQ, that's essentially that same big difference between the average person in New Mexico and somebody who's retarded. It's big difference, huge difference. And so finding your equal is very, I'm sure it's, easier on the relationship in a lot of ways. I'm not saying that geniuses can't be with, 150 couldn't be with 100. Sure, I'm sure it happens all the time. But for mental stimulation purposes of keeping interest alive and having something to talk about that you both find intriguing, you have to be within, I would say within 10 IQ points to be happy. I would.
Yeah, there's nothing worse, like especially when you're younger, like you were saying too. When you're trying to meet people and you go out on like that first date and you end up like sitting there talking to somebody and you realize you're like, well, yeah, she may be pretty, but boy, she's dumber than a sack of rocks. Vice versa. It's like, you just sit there and you're like, oh my God, like, how do I even have this conversation with
I've had that happen actually a couple times, and it's so bad. And I remember I'll call him a different name. We'll call him Tommy. But this Tommy guy, he was gorgeous. He was 6'4", blue eyes, blonde hair. He was a bodybuilder. He was just gorgeous and like fun, outgoing, did lots of cool stuff, but dumber than a bag of rocks. And I was just like, oh no. Like,
when you wanted to talk about JFK, he wanted to talk about his gains.
Yeah, he was definitely a protein bro kind of thing. And it was like,
the best thing about bodybuilders is they got to eat every 2 hours. And if they don't eat every 2 hours on the dot, they are the most angry people in the whole world.
Yeah, and it's like flank steak, just plain flank steak and spinach. It's like not even something fun. But
speaking of, I'll be right back. I got to get my protein bar.
Do you remember, because I only remember bits and pieces of this. Do you remember her story about how, because they were supposed to go on a vacation somewhere. They were supposed to go somewhere special.
Yeah,
and
they were.
And then she ended up getting him out of it because they were trying to because she was trying to prove that the connection that she knew these people, because they're trying to say that she didn't know them. And she was able to prove that she was supposed to be on this flight to go meet him, or that she'd actually been to this place. Oh, no, I can't remember. I was hoping Destiny would. But
I'm
they
not
ended up
remembering that, but I know that she was supposed to go. I just can't think of where it was. I'll have to watch my own video again.
Well, yeah, because I was listening. I wasn't conducting the interview, so I wasn't thinking of questions. So I was enthralled with it. But I found it interesting of how they smuggled her out of the country, because every single person that was associated or who had any knowledge of this stuff was eliminated. And so they took her out. They got her out.
Well, they got.
Uh-oh. She froze.
Oh, no.
You're back.
You're back.
Am I back?
Yep, you are back.
Okay. I think she lived because, like, not only did they get her out of the country, but because they can kill you in another country. That's not difficult. In fact, it's probably easier.
I was about to say, it's probably easier.
Yeah, less local witnesses that are actually going to, have the means to talk to somebody about it who's going to be, speaking the same language. All these other contextual things are important for witnesses. So it's probably easier to kill her across seas. And they definitely do that. If anything, to make it less obvious it was them, But I think that they continuously downplayed the fact that she was going to have the kind of memory she has. I don't think they could have foreseen that. I don't think so. I think that they thought, for a girl, she's smart. And I think that's the mentality they had for her. Like, oh, she's smart for a girl. Like, she's threatening as far as a girl is. But I don't think they took her very seriously. And so I think that played to her favor, of course.
Yeah, because I don't think that they realized that she knew Russian. Like, they didn't know that she knew as much as she knew, because she knew a lot, because when she would be with Lee, people didn't think that she could understand Russian. So when they were doing stuff speaking in Russian, she was storing all of this away, and they didn't know she's like the people who wanted her taken, or who would have taken her out, didn't know she knew as much as she did. And her memory was as good as it was.
Yeah, I think they messed up. But, like I say all the time, the government sucks at their jobs. So, even if it was to do something horrible, they're probably not going to do it very well.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
it's
actually
Nate.
vote for a lot of those people too, which is really sad. But
Yeah, we do.
Sucks.
Nate wants to know Nate wonders how JFK got girls so easy because he's a looker.
Because he's
right.
gorgeous.
Yeah, I've got Nate just called in and chimed in. He wants to come up here and say hey to you lovely ladies. I'm sure he's not here to talk to LW or I, but what is going on, Nate? How are you doing tonight, sir?
And that is a fact. What's up, ladies?
Hi.
No, no, I'm just kidding. I was just curious how he did get girls, or there's a formula or whatever or situation. But anyways, yeah. By the way, I don't know if there's a theory or not because I think he is dead. I know there's a lot of theories that he might be not dead or dead in general. If you got shot in the head, you're dead. I mean, I'm not trying to start drama. I'm just saying what I think and stuff. And I think he's, I think he was a good president, even though I wasn't born. But yeah, I think he is.
He
dead.
did push for the space program and all that.
Yes,
the space program.
I approve that. But yes, you guys still think there is a theory he might be still alive, or no?
Well, he's born 1917, so he'd be like 120 now almost. So
Yeah,
Right.
he'd be one of the oldest living people in history. He'd definitely be the oldest president in history.
He'd probably still get some, girls.
Yeah, he would still be getting the ladies, Nate. Elvis is his caretaker, and they are both up there.
If he was alive,
knocking him out.
he could get it. Okay, if he was alive, he could get it.
Yeah, I mean, war hero, money, and a presidency is pretty easy to do, Nate. Pretty easy to get the chicks.
Wait,
Money.
Was he born in New York? Because he has that accent, or somewhere.
Boston, up in
Boston.
actually Brookline.
Oh, yeah.
It's Brookline, Massachusetts, but it's near Boston. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I am relative to that, I guess, accent because I have a family living Warwick, Rhode Island, so I mean, kind of close to Massachusetts. But anyways, all I can say from that accent is water. There you go.
Yeah, those are ours. Those are ours.
Water.
We choose to go to the moon.
Yeah.
I actually thought you were Mark Wahlberg for a second there, Nate.
Nice.
Water. Yeah.
I really did. I
Dude,
really did.
every time I do it, it turns out Deutscher turns to New Jersey when I try to do it. So it just because it goes like khakis. Yeah. It's like, nah, it's Jersey. It's messing it up. I'm not good at the East Coast
khaki. Yeah, that's more Canadian. Yeah.
Get in the car and go to the bar.
Right. Desi, a logical spark here in the chat wants to know where you got your JFK pillow.
Actually, a good friend of mine from actually I've known since my first years of college got this for me. On the other side is for my birthday, 2021, knowing how much I love JFK. But on the other side, put my mother, who passed away back in 2016. So I got my mom on one side and JFK on the other. So it's it was a personal gift. It was actually one of the best somebody could ever do. I think it was, in terms of gift givers, he did a great job.
Cool.
Aww.
Yeah, it's actually really cool.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Sally thought I can hardly hear Nate, but hey.
I turned your volume up, Nate. So.
And that's why I saw that. Anyway, thank you. So basically, yeah, I think, like I said before, I think JFK did a really good job, of presidency and like TF said, bringing, space station alive, Apollo, I guess, 12. I don't know.
Yeah, before that, but yeah, he
Yeah.
was definitely the one. He was the one that announced that that we were going to go to the moon. That
We
may or
are
may not
going
have
to go to the
happened.
moon. Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, he did a lot getting us going with the space program and all that. Richard Nixon kind of took credit for a lot of it, I think, there at the end. But yeah, JFK did a lot of good things.
Yeah. Well, I know we have all political
You just sparked
differences.
something in Destiny's brain. I can see the light bulb. Just the light bulb is a
Lit up.
I was going to ask if I know y'all don't really support Trump. I don't really support Trump. I'm not trying to, turn into. I'm just going to ask one curious question. You think he will say, "We're going to go to Mars," or no? But like basically, what I'm trying to think of, like, he probably won't say it. I'm saying like the situation that like JFK kind of said it. We're going to go to Mars. And I guess
Trump will probably come out and be like, "We're going to go to Uranus, and it's going to happen."
Are we bringing up the Uranus conversation again about the?
I mean, how do we always
I
get
didn't
drug
bring
back
up
into
that.
this one?
I didn't bring the Uranus.
Was it Nate last week that gave us the description of Uranus about it being how it had 2 rings and that it was there's a big old cloud around it?
Yeah, it's
and
basically a
that
gas.
it's a gas. It's really gassy around Uranus, and that you're at times it's like.
And it smells like stupid, so I was just shocked.
Yeah, status quo says Uranus will be beautiful. Exactly. Well, Nate, you got anything else for us there, sir?
Well, I mean, there's only one word, boobies. There you go.
Okay, thanks, Nate. All right, there we go. Nate the Great, always great caller as always. Love you, Nate. Nate's great. Nate the Great. That's why they call him that.
Nate the Great is great. He's fun.
Yeah, and Dave Brown says Ralph Cramden's talked about sending someone to the moon since the 50s. So exactly. Yeah, Dave, we were talking about that earlier. Desi, you look like you got something that popped in your mind that you just wanted to say. You're mute. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, no. I just sent them because I have 2. I just got a new laptop, so I still have some files on my old one that isn't on my new one. So I had to like hop onto my old one for a second and download some photos I have on my old computer of JFK. So there's a great, it's not an app, it's a website. I think it's called palette.fm, if I'm not mistaken. It's an AI that takes old photos and colorizes them, which is great. And I did it because I have pictures of my mom and my grandma and stuff that they've passed away. And so like I used it originally for that, but I also, of course, with my love for JFK, took a whole bunch of JFK photos, which I have a lot of, all of them. And they look great. It's really fun, at least for me, in my opinion, to look at these in color that people haven't seen yet. I was going to pull a couple up. Oh, wait, I already have that one. Oops.
Oh, super cool. Yeah, you'll probably have to pull down the other thing that you have. I can probably kick it off.
I can do that. Yeah. Here we go. Ooh, there we go.
Oh, wait. Yeah, you'll probably have to do it. Otherwise, I think I'll end up kicking you off. So you'll probably have to pull it off. Shizzy, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. How you doing tonight?
What is going on, brother? Good
It's
to
a
see you.
shizzle nuts.
How's it going, Sally? How you
Good.
doing?
How are you?
It's good. It's good. I just wanted to come by here and say, how's it going? All you guys having a wonderful evening?
Yeah, we're doing good over here. Doing good. We've been talking about JFK. What do you know about JFK, Shizzy? What do you think about that whole assassination attempt?
Well, I think next time you want to, like jump off a building, there's an easier way to do it. I would suggest, try to make sure that you make sure you have padding below it. No, I don't have any thoughts on JFK. I avoid that stuff.
Destiny's like, Destiny's like, what is he talking about? Because there might have been some people who flew off buildings that, didn't mean to fly up Hillary style.
They're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, I guess attempt was a bad word. The chat's correct me on that one. Attempt. I had my mind lately on the new things that have been going on, but not attempt.
It was pretty successful.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
Levy,
exactly.
how's it going? No, that's no, that is really interesting. I don't really think too much about JFK. I think there was definitely some stuff going on there that I'm not qualified to talk about.
Shenanigans.
Yeah. Things
You're gonna have to go
don't
back and
quite
watch
line up.
You're going to have to go back and watch this from the beginning because Destiny here's my friend from X. Well, I know her. Well, I talked to her on the phone one time, but her mind is brilliant. And then the way she connects the dots is amazing. That you'll have to go back and listen.
She should probably talk to Rosalind Duke.
Who's that?
Rosalind Duke, her father was one of the investigators for that.
Ooh.
Yeah, you can find her on X.
Whose father is that?
Rosalind Duke, she would let you know quite a bit about it. Here, I'll put a link to her.
No, but I don't know who Rosalind Duke is. How do you know her?
She's on Twitter and she was on my channel last night. Her father used to work for the feds. Yeah.
Put it in the private chat, would you? So Destiny doesn't have to try to strain to figure this out.
Yeah, I'll put both her Twitter and her personal information.
Tell Rosalind to follow Destiny so they can communicate in the DMs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Shizzy, it was pretty interesting. Desi, she interviewed the girlfriend of Lee Harvey Oswald recently, which was pretty fascinating to think of. You know, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to go back and find that one. Do you have that's just on X? Is that the only place that's
I'll get you the link for it because
there's a link for it on Rumble too. I think it was put into Rumble through my girlfriend Ariel, who was also doing the interview. She led the interview. It's Can You Dig It 1111, I believe, on Rumble. Can you dig it?
Just put it in the private chat.
I like that.
Oh yeah, I will.
Oh, you found it already? Never mind.
Look at all these people. Look at all these lines crossing right here. All this connections happening. I like to see it.
And you just mentioned JFK 2 days ago. I'm like, oh, Destiny, I hope she's available. So I messaged her before I even asked you. I just said, hey, Destiny, come on our show. So that because I want to give her enough time so she didn't go somewhere else.
I'm glad
that's her
you
YouTube.
did.
That's her YouTube channel there. So
I will tell you this, Destiny, that you're never like if you get into like the creator world and you start getting into like the YouTube world, this is a different side of it where it's not dog eat dog. It's how can we build each other up? Like this whole entire show that we've created right now is based off of let's interview someone, let's bring some callers on and let them ask questions. But so normally someone's like, oh, I want all the credit, I want all the clicks, right? So Traveling Fools is streaming to his own audience, so YouTube and X Live. LW is streaming to his channel, and I'm streaming to my Rumble and my X Live. So it's this working together to build something where it can be just. It's not competing against each other. It's building each other up, which I really like the concept of it.
I've got it streaming on my X as well.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
No wonder I don't have any viewers, Destiny. I used your name to Griff to get viewers on X.
Right. But hey, as long as they're watching, that's all that matters.
I don't care.
Exactly.
I don't care. Yeah.
We have 1,438 people watching us right now. So that is quite impressive. And we thanks for everybody taking their time to be there watching us. So that's, super cool.
I might have dropped a couple hundred in there whenever I ended my stream.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got 722 watching it. So
yeah, I might have dropped a couple hundred in here whenever I left.
Thanks.
Next time I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm just great. Like, I just got a couple hundred. That's all. You guys are sitting here with a few thousand. Wonderful.
No, it's good to see it. And like Sally was saying, I mean, that's kind of the thing we are trying to do here is just, bring people in, try to bring some, have an open conversation where it's not, like last week we talked about the moon landing, and the cool thing was, or we just talked about the moon in general. The cool thing was we had LW, Sally, and we all came on with none of us knowing what anybody else's opinion was on the topic before we came on, and then just had the discussion and had some people come on, call in, so it's just a neat conversation, something fun to do. And, just open it up and meet people and, just have a good time, something,
wish I was there for that one. That would have been fun. Dang it.
You
Yeah.
joined for
You
part of
invited
it.
me. You invited me.
Yeah, you were there for part of it, but you're fine.
I know the moon is like, it's one of the best ones. It's one of the best stories. It's probably, other than the JFK assassination, I would say it was, and that was quickly afterwards. One of the big like major first conspiracy theories, like you got JFK and then like the moon. There was I did a good thread about and nobody talks about this. I was the first person outside of local reporting that covered this story, but there was a time capsule that was put into the earth October 30th, 1969 by the mayor of Montgomery, Alabama, who was best friends with Werner von Braun and had him put into this time capsule for the sesquicentennial time capsule that they buried there. Werner von Braun put a letter in, wrote one in, just a one-page letter, 3 paragraphs, and put in some Apollo 8 medallions, a model of the Saturn V. But the letter is the incredible thing, and it got unsealed after 50 years, as was the idea in 2019, and it didn't get picked up by a single major news outlet. And I think it was an astonishing letter, what he said in it. It was pretty interesting. With so many people doubting the moon and everything, to me, the fact that CNN or ABC didn't cover it is quite telling.
I remember when it happened, but I don't really remember what did the letter say? What was the premise of it?
Oh God, I've read it so many times, I've almost memorized it by now. But essentially, the first paragraph is pretty much pleasantries, explaining what he put in the box. He's like, put in the medallion 8s, and he talks about the model and try to explain the significance. He's like, which is the same model we used for man's first landing on the moon. It's the very last paragraph though that like I get hung up on, which he gives his kind of forward-thinking intention of what he hopes by the time that the capsule's open, what he hopes space advancement will be at. And it's worded very, very strangely. Essentially, it kind of says it's our fondest hope that that people, when they open this, will have continued space advancement that we attempted to establish. And I thought that was very interesting language for him to use, attempted to establish. I would say you established it if you landed on the moon. I would say you did. I don't know what the attempted part is, but it's very for somebody who just did the greatest feat, even today, the greatest feat mankind's ever had. He was very, very kind of, hot and cold about it. It was very interesting. And he was a well-known author. He wrote Project Mars, which I have in my library here, about a man named Elon leading us to Mars. Well, not a man, an entity named Elon leading us to Mars. It's more of a technical manual than it is like a fictional book. It kind of reads more technical than, say, your average Nancy Drew, but it's a good book. So he knew what he was writing. He knew how to write really well, is the point I try to make when I tell people that. It's not like he didn't know how to choose his words. And this was something that was important to his friend. He would have taken it seriously. So I think his choice of words is significant. Of course, it's just an opinion. I can never prove anything. Werner von Braun's long been dead. And of course, what he said about the firmament on his tombstone is another conspiracy theorist's favorite, Psalm 19:1, right? So I think it was just interesting that it didn't get covered, especially with Elon and SpaceX going on. You would think if anyone would at least posted about it, but he didn't. I thought it was very bizarre.
That's interesting.
Well,
yeah, the moon.
That's a tough
sorry,
one.
let me go ahead.
I was just going to say that's a tough one with Werner von Braun, because maybe people didn't want to touch it because, he did work in rocket factories and military factories that killed the slowest worker every month,
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, we hired so many people, Operation Paperclip, and Elon has been very adamant about how impressed he was. The Saturn V is Elon's favorite rocket, and he said that in many interviews. And he's one of the most beloved characters in America right now. So, the idea that that's the reason we wouldn't do it, I'm like, I don't know. Elon's kind of made it worthy to talk about discussion in terms of, Elon has a good ability at doing that, where he could talk about somebody, not necessarily from the perspective that everyone gathers from. Like, for instance, and I find this a really strong position of character, to be able to criticize your idols and also, villainize your idols. And the opposite is true too. But if you hate somebody, you should be able to find the positive qualities. And I think Elon, that's all he was doing. He wasn't saying obviously being a Nazi is a good thing. He's saying the guy, what he accomplished is significant scientifically. And I found it, admirable. And he likes that. And he likes the design because he's coming from scientific perspective. He's not looking at it like, the Holocaust or anything. He's looking at it from the terms of the actual advancement in technology. And I think that's a really admirable quality of Elon to do that, because I try to employ that with everything. Like, I don't like Hitler. Nobody likes Hitler. But I, as an art historian, do think that Hitler was a beautiful watercolorist. And he was. But was he a good person? No, he wasn't. But it's not to endorse Hitler. It's just the fact of the matter is true. He was a good. I mean, he was able to apply to the greatest art school in the world. You don't get to even apply unless you have some sort of haunches on you. Something worthy. So
you were only allowed to have those kind of thoughts like prior, 2015 and before. Now if you think anything like that,
Right.
you're just automatically bundled into some nonsensical,
But that's how we got the uniparty.
Yeah.
That's how we got the uniparty and very black and white thinking and the arguing between. That's why CNN can't stop saying Trump and Fox, and it's just this whole black and white thing. But it's disrespectful to the wide variety of gray in between, to discount that because of the kind of polar opposite argument. It sucks. I think it leaves a lot to be desired.
And it goes back to, I think, the lowering in the IQ and just the people's thought levels they don't have that ability to think both ways and to think, two things can be right at the same time. Two things can be wrong at the same time. There's many, you don't have to black and white everything. You can look at things with an open mind and come to a intelligent, conclusion on it. And to say that just because somebody was a Nazi he wasn't a brilliant scientist is, that's just a dumb thing to say. Just because political ideals doesn't mean that you couldn't make a damn good rocket.
Yeah, that was my point. Like, that probably today that makes sense why people wouldn't want to talk about it, and stuff like that, because in today's climate, it can be taken all kinds of different ways.
Yeah, but people's sensitivities are out of control lately, and this is my personal opinion. Hormones, we have we're literally bathing in a daily soup of endocrine disruptors, which create estrogen of all things. The most potent of the. It's very rare to find testosterone boosting chemicals. Quite as many.
I still like boobs. I'm all about estrogen. It's so good.
Eat soy out of plastic that was heated up. Get as much.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Drink tap water.
Yeah, drink tap water. You'll grow your own.
Exactly.
Shizzy, you would look pretty good with a nice set of boobs there, Shizzy. I think you should work on that.
I should work on that. I'll make sure to double my fluoride in the in the tap water.
You know why do you want to know why I have smart kids? Which I didn't know this, but I found out when my pipe exploded this last summer in the road, and the guy who came out was part of the water supply in my county, and he said that we do not have fluoride in our water. We haven't, and this is where my children, when I was pregnant with them, we have not had fluoride in our water in our county.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
So even when I was pregnant with my children, I didn't have fluoride in my water, which is very amazing. Because I used to be like, tell my kid, well, my boy especially, like, don't drink the tap water, drink the filtered water, like his whole life. So yeah.
I grew up on well water, but I'm sure by the time I moved in high school that I'm sure that where that is in Oregon, I'm certain it's fluoridated. But at least my younger years, I had well water the whole time. So
it's pretty
thank goodness.
cool.
Yeah.
I need to go drive. There's a well up where I live. I need to go. There's a spring. It comes up. There's a spring and it's in public where you can just go fill up your jugs of water from it. And it's right off.
Findaspring.org, I think is the name of the website. Let me double check before I say that publicly.
Yeah, but I only know of one in my area, period. Like one in my area. But it's like people go, they even put a spout on it where you can just go fill up your jug and it comes straight, and it's coming straight off of the mountain. So it hasn't gone through any of the city or any of the long travels of getting to the
Findaspring.com, not org. If anyone is interested in finding fresh, either groundwater or spring water, there's a map. The website findaspring.com will show you a map. You can click on your state. It'll show you all the ones in your state, and most of them are free, but it will tell you ahead of time. It's a really cool resource just to get healthy water.
It's so silly how they can charge you for water that's coming out of a freaking well or a spring. Like the fact that you just had to say that most of them are free just baffles my mind that this thing comes from nature and we have to pay for it. Yeah.
Well,
You
I think
just-
it's even crazier. You have to pay, like you get fined money in some states if you collect rainwater.
Yep.
Yep.
I think it's like Utah and Colorado are up there with the ones I'm pretty sure it's those two that have to pay. And I think maybe California, if you are caught harvesting, even to just water your plants or your animals, it's illegal. It's crazy. It's
Welcome
illegal.
Welcome to Utah here to collect the rent. You can collect a certain amount, but above that, because they want it to go into the drain system. They want to collect the water.
So they will actually fine you if you are collecting
If
rain?
you're caught. If you're caught.
If you're caught, yeah.
Well, obviously, yeah. But I mean, if you're collecting rain, they find you?
Oh, yeah, because they want to go into the sewer because Utah's a desert, right? So they want to collect the water in the drain system and then disperse it where they see fit, right?
Yeah, California. There's areas in California where they fine you $10,000 if you get caught doing it.
Which is so asinine. Like, next thing you know, you're going to be charged for like methane farts because it goes against climate change, and you're going to be charged for every inhale. Like on Spaceballs, I don't know if you've ever seen. I love that movie where they have the canisters of oxygen and they have to like suck it out of a planet, and so like you're charged for using oxygen, and it's like an elitist thing to do. Like that's where we're heading at this point. I mean, to charge for rainwater is.
Do you remember what the bumper sticker on the back of Lone Star's Flying Winnebago said?
No, what was this? Something great, I'm sure.
We break for Uranus. Back to Uranus jokes. See, that was the bumper sticker on the back. I love that movie.
Like I say Uranus because I hate the jokes about it. Because like I do astronomy, I have a few telescopes. I built a couple of them.
Oh, I do too. I've got some of those too. That's always been a thing of mine.
Cool.
I took that in college, and that's when I got into it. I thought I was in college, and I was like, a friend of mine, we were both like, well, you have to take those other classes they want to throw at you. Oh, I got to take these. I got to take these. You got to take a science. So I'm like, I was a music major, but I had to take a science. So I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's how I fell into mine too. Was art history. It was like the one that you had to take, like just a nothing class. It was either art
right, an elective.
Yeah, elective
class.
And I accidentally was like changed my major for that elective later on.
Yeah, we thought it was like, oh, this is going to be cool. We can go and sit in the planetarium and, get stoned and, do all this. Next thing you know, we're like, how many light years does it take for, if you're going from, it was like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought we are going to be looking at stars in a planetarium. No, we're like learning. Half of it was math, and it was actually a lot harder class than I thought it would be. But ever since then, I've been interested in it.
What would be, so I think if people really wanted these children to get fascinated, so it's like with my son, he was really good naturally at art. So he takes an art class as a 7th grader, but instead of just letting them draw and have a love for art, they got to quiz them on the history of art and all like that stuff's important, but let them love art first and their ability to draw versus quizzing them on all of these different people because their mind thinks different. If you're into that, your mind thinks differently anyway. Same with astrology. First, let them look at the stars. Let them have a love for it. Then quiz them on the math. Like, make them love it first. I think that's where they go wrong.
Yeah, most definitely.
I agree.
I remember I was fascinated when, you started getting the smartphones and they had that app that came on the smartphones where you could put it on there. You could hold it up to the sky and look and see which, what constellation was which and hold it up and look at what planet. I mean, that was like the coolest thing ever to have an app that did that.
Well, they still have those apps.
Well, I know, but it's it was really cool when you first got it. Now I know I can look up there and go,
He's already learned by now.
Right,
see,
right.
I'm a half-wit. So
your IQ is about 98. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's like 2. It's really low. I'm lucky that I can even like scrape bubblegum off the ground. So,
well, we're gonna wrap this thing up here pretty quick. I do have one more person I want to bring up, real fast up here on this panel before.
I got those pictures up there too.
Okay, cool. So yeah, let me bring Nils up real quick. Nils, super cool guy. Nils has been helping out volunteering. He's been up there in North Carolina working up there. He's been up there since the get-go. He's like 16-hour, 17-hour days up there since the whole started cutting trees, taking he's like one of the first people on the ground there.
So
Nils,
have you met Chad or Boone since you've been there?
That would be a negative, I suppose. I'd have to see faces.
And so do you know Margot? She's been coordinating a lot of the stuff with
I would have to see. I don't know. It depends
she's
on
a
what
blonde
county, what
lady.
area she's in. It depends on where she was at. We were in shit central.
I'll know. Give me 1 sec. I'll tell you where she's from. But go ahead.
Yeah. So initially, like, and I don't want to make this about that, TF, but and I do appreciate the intro and all the support and everything, and the people of Western North Carolina and East Tennessee do too. But we were in what we called shit central, so you had everybody up in like Chimney Rock, Blowing Rock, Boone, and stuff, and then everybody else in Asheville and Black Mountain and Burnsville. We were at smack in the middle. We call it the land that God forgot, because everybody else, paying attention to media, mainstream media, and they went to those areas. So we were in the forgotten lands, and that's where we were operating at.
Yeah, that's cool. So what do you think about what do you think about the JFK thing, Nils? You got anything to add to that conversation?
Man, I'll be honest, I have no idea what's going on outside of what was going on down there. Like the entire 10 days we were down there, we had no idea what was going on in the rest of the world.
I think he's asking about JFK, not RFK. John F.
Right, yeah, JFK.
Yeah. No, I mean, seriously, we got back into real internet world, real internet service, and then we find out that South Korea and North Korea, whatever, and Lebanon and Israel, we're like, what the fuck is going on? We had no idea what was going on outside the real world. we had no clue. We were too fucking tired to care.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's just because of internet service and things like that, but it's getting more coordinated and organized. But yeah, but I did hear something, TF, I've never heard in my life before as a term towards moonshine. I heard an old Free Will Baptist preacher called moonshine high octane spring water.
Yeah.
Welcome to Appalachia. Yeah. I live up here in that stuff too. So
yeah, you're in that area too, and I mean, hell, I live in Appalachia, but I had never heard that term.
One of the funniest things I ever did was I may or may not. I'll just say it that way because I don't know if it's legal to say that.
Cannot confirm nor deny.
Right. So we were distilling. We'll just call it that. And we had the funny idea that maybe if we distilled Boone's Farm. made that. So we went and bought about 20, 30 bottles of Strawberry Hill, and we distilled it and made our own product out of that. And I have never in my life felt worse the next morning than after sampling that one night.
Oh,
it was absolutely a horrible.
Strawberry Hill became Strawberry Mountain.
Yes, it was bad.
Yeah.
Oh. It was bad. So, anybody else got anything left? I mean, we're like right at a little over 2 hour mark here. I think we've had a great show. I think we've had a great show here, and I think it's always good to quit while you're ahead.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Plan. Yeah, I think that's a great plan too. So let's go on ahead and start there. Let me pull this down right here. We're going to let everybody go and say where they're at, where people can find them, do all that kind of cool stuff like that. So that's like we were saying before, that's kind of the point of this show, is reaching out and not being like the one person snob on YouTube or Twitter or Rumble or anything like that, where it's all about themselves, but bringing people together. And I think that's a lot more fun. So let's just go on ahead and we'll just rock right through there. Shizzy, you were our first guest on here right there. Where can people find you at, Shizzy? And we're going to pull people down one at a time, and we'll rock out of here.
It's easy to find me, shizzywisnut.com. The YouTube channel. That's the easiest place to find me. I'm every morning throughout the week, and pretty much every night throughout the week. So 6:30 in the morning to about 9 o'clock. I go in the mornings, and then at night, 7:30 until I get too tired to do anything else, and then I jump on other people's chats and channels, and right now finishing up Sarah Boone. Ooh, that's a mess. morning streams are usually just news and having fun and laughing your ass off. If you can find time to do it. Sundays, I do a stream that we tell stories. This week is going to be Sleepy Hollow. So I have a whole crew that comes over. Yamaha biker. Well, I have a story. He's also known as Yamaha Biker if you've ever seen him. Then I have Dictionary Diva Volstorm and Welsh Lady Reads and Miss Nocturna. So those are my guests that usually come, and Kaiser Pineapple also. Yes. So I've got a whole crew over there.
Well, Shizzy, when you get off here, drop your link. Drop your link in the chat there to make sure everybody go over there and sub up Shizzy. Shizzy's a good friend of mine. He does run a great channel. It's a lot of fun over there. A lot of good people surrounding him. So Shizzy, drop your link in there, and we're gonna pull people down one at a time. Shizzy, thank you so much for coming up, my brother.
Thank you, brother.
And we will see you soon, my friend.
See you in a few.
All right, see you, buddy. Nils, we're wrapping this up. Sorry you got here right at the end, but anything you want to shout out, anything you want to throw out there where people can follow you at?
Yeah, brother, here at YouTube, Nils the Iron Wolf. I'm also on TikTok, which was where we have time and date stamped our operations in Western North Carolina and East Tennessee. You can find me on TikTok at Nils_Iron Wolf. And we also have the PayPal donation there as well. And we're doing great things, man. We're posting updates, and we've got a lot of good information on there. Check it out.
All right, Nils. Well, love you, brother. Thanks for all the hard work you're doing up there. I know the people in Appalachia really do appreciate that. And it's people like you that save everybody's faith in humanity. I will say that, So
appreciate you.
Nils, love you, brother. And we will see you soon. All right.
Squad.
All right. See you, brother.
Nice to meet you, Nils.
Nils a great guy. He's a great guy there. Desi.
Yep.
Tell everybody about where they can find you at, because you've been an absolute very informative, very fun, very great guest to have. Great guest to have on this show. So let everybody know. I'm sure you've got people wanting to follow you.
You can find me on X. That's where I'm at 99.9% of my time, and it's Desi _Resi. IE at the end, not a Y. It's right there on my screen here. Desi Resi. I have a website, but it's all linked at the top of my page there. So the dessays.com. I have a BitChute channel under the same name. That's where you can find me.
It's really funny. I was typing in the private chat there, like right at the beginning, I was trying to add your name to these things, to put up there, follow such and such. And I'm typing in the private chat and I'm like, Sally, can you send me Desi's @ for her Twitter so I can put it up on there? And I'm sitting there waiting. And finally, I looked back at your name and I went, oh, shit, it's on there. It's literally your name.
Well, when you asked me to find it, I thought you were doing the lazy man out, just wanted to copy and paste it. So I'm like, oh, sure, I'll go find it. I was going to be like, her name's right there.
Yeah, I know.
JFK. I put that there as my little nickname.
Yeah, I saw them as JFK. Yeah, afterwards I read it. I was just like, I just felt stupid. You do those moments.
I'm at Arlington Cemetery laying next to my beloved. Okay. That's only how I spent my 30th birthday. I don't do that every day.
Oh, okay. Well,
your 30th birthday. That's awesome.
Yeah, I did. I went up there for my birthday.
That would have been so fun.
It was. I have a whole video I posted on X a long time ago. Like I wore like a French beret, because I'm like, obviously he likes a fashionable woman, so I had to like dress up to the nines to go view his grave. And there was other people there because it's public, right? It's a cemetery. And I was like looking at the other people, like, could you give us a minute? Could you give us a minute? Like, could you stop coming up here? It's like our moment right now. You're ruining it. But yeah, I did get my moment with him, so it was great. But here's a cool last conspiracy, and I'll leave you guys to do your thing.
Before you leave, Destiny, though, Shiz Wiznut said to hang in the back chat without exiting StreamYard.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have to leave. We'll wrap this thing up here in a second, but you don't have to leave. You can sit in the back room there for a second.
Yeah, I can do that.
Finish your conspiracy, though.
Yeah.
In fact, there's only one president buried with an eyesight of the CIA headquarters, and that just so happens to be John F. Kennedy. If you turn around from the grave, like his eternal flame, and you turn around, you can look across the water to DC, and the first building you see is CIA headquarters.
I wonder if his brother, because Robert did some stuff. Like we'll have to have this conversation another time, because there were some things that instead of archiving things where they were supposed to be archived, there's a lot of things that are archived at I think it's at the Smithsonian. So people will have to go and find. They'll have to go find it, but I've heard that there's. Yeah. They're not at
I
the
would do-
Official Records
That's
Act.
smart. That's smart. I should. Why can't all politicians be that crafty? That'd be
Yes.
cool.
So we just got people got to just find where they're hidden, but I guarantee someone knows where they're at.
Of course. Yeah. Somebody always knows.
Oh, but that was more related to MK Ultra stuff. So a lot of the
Oh.
MK Ultra's documents that supposedly burned in the fire, he preserved the
Admiral
documents.
Stansfield Turner was the
Yeah.
one who's supposed to burn them. My cat's meowing at me. If you hear that, it's my cat.
You're fine.
Like she hears you. What happens is she hears people in here and I have the door shut. So she thinks she's missing out. She thinks there's actually like physical people in here. So she gets all like anxious and she's like, let me see them. I'm like, it's just a screen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had my dog clawing at the door a minute ago. She was sitting there doing that. LW. So tell people where they can find you at, sir.
I'll post it in the chat here, my YouTube page and Twitter page. That'll be probably easier just to click on it. But enjoyed the show. I enjoyed talking to you. Nice to meet you, Desi. Sally, it was fun talking Traveling Fools.
Likewise.
Appreciate
Yeah,
the good
as always.
conversation.
Yeah, it was a lot of good conversation tonight. I actually like that. It flowed really nice. Sally, what about you?
Well, I am Talk with Sally. You can find me on Rumble, YouTube, X on X. I do X Live and I do X Spaces. Those are all the places you can find me. I only come on YouTube for the fun shows because I like to speak truth to power and I don't like to censor my words. So you can find me all those places. Oh, I also have a locals chat that goes 24/7. I reset it every time I do a show. You can say whatever you want and it's not censored. So you can always join me over there. It's $5 a month if you want to do, just chat freely every day, share memes, posts, whatever. There's my places.
There you go. And everybody tuning in there. You can find our channel at the Twitter is at Travel and Fish. So, but it is Traveling Fools. Same thing on YouTube. You can go on YouTube, type in Traveling Fools or Traveling Fools on X. It should come up, but it is at Travel and Fish on X. One last thing we do want to touch on before we jump out of here, Sally. Take it away there.
Oh, yes. So, guys, we do live under this Biden economy thing, but Julian is my ride or die. We started doing X together. He needs a kidney, so he's not able to work. I've talked to him on the phone. I talk to him all the time. He's a great person. There's his gifts, and go if you can donate any amount of money, it would be greatly appreciated because he's an amazing person. So, and if you can't donate, share with someone who might be able to donate because it is a tax write-off. It's getting that time of year where people are going to have to get rid of some money so they can write it off on their business expenses. So, if you could do that, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
All right, there you go. Sally, drop that link in there in the chat just to make sure that everybody does have the direct link to that.
Julian needs a kidney.
Yes, both of his kidneys are
blood
dead.
type. I'll give him one. I'm A+ because I passed. I'm kidding, but I really am A positive. If he needs one, I'll totally give him a kidney.
Yeah,
I'm on the registry list anyways.
Oh, you are? Okay, Julian. Yeah, you got to talk to Destiny. We'll have to. You guys can DM each other. We're in the same chat group. Yeah, he's a kidney, and he doesn't. He's not a poor me.
I got two. I don't
I'm
even
dying.
need both.
Yeah,
I don't even need both. I have two.
Oh, he would love it because you know what? You don't have the
I don't have any jabs.
Yeah, because that's his biggest fear. That's his biggest.
I have really good kidneys. I have good all of my organs, hopefully. But last I checked, their blood tests, everything was great. So yeah, if he needs a kidney and for a match, awesome. I'm totally willing to give him a kidney.
That's like the nicest thing I've ever heard.
Destiny's a good person. Destiny is an amazing person. She's like my little sister. I don't know how to explain this. I don't know how come I met her, but I feel like God brings people into your life when you need them. And she definitely was one of those people.
It was
Destiny.
Awesome.
It was Destiny.
Oh, I love it.
It was Destiny. Well, Destiny, hey, thanks for coming on. We're going to wrap this show up next week, next Thursday night. It's going to be freaking awesome. It is Halloween. Halloween is next Thursday night. So you can only imagine what kind of topics we are going to have. We do have a cool guest that I have lined up that is going to come on that does those reads the stories on, the pages that do reading scary stories. Tales told in the dark. She would ask if she could come on. Yeah, Tales Told from the Dark, or Told in the Dark. She wants to come on and read a story for us, that, like a short 3-4 minute story about Halloween, and she's absolutely awesome at it. So I think we'll probably end up talking some paranormal, talking some kind of crazy stuff like that on Halloween. So I'm really pumped about that one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Everybody out there, thanks so much for tuning in. It has been a great night, and we really do appreciate each and every one of you. 1,809 people watching right now, and to all of you, we really do appreciate it, and have a great night.